our top 25 show for Infinite Recharge. It's going to be an exciting one. We have a guest with us today. We were originally going to have two, but unfortunately, due to some charger difficulties, not even laptop difficulties, he's unable to join us. But we still have one fantastic guest here. We'll just introduce ourselves because I know we have some more people who are maybe unfamiliar with who we are and what we're about. First off, I'm Brennan. I'm a mentor for 4476 and an alum. We'll go down to Evan there.
Hello, I'm Evan. I am also currently mentoring 4476, but all the way from the West Coast of the United States.
I'm Taegen. I'm an alum of 771 and also mentor for 4476. Surprise.
Good evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are when you're watching this. I'm Danny. I'm an alumni from 2491 No Mythic, and I do not currently mentor 4476, and I go to college in Chicago. Yeah.
Very cool. You don't mentor 4476 yet.
Yeah.
Oh man, we are.
You've been trying for over a year now.
And I will continue.
I wish you
Probably.
good luck.
So yeah, we got an exciting show. It's been a weird season, that's for sure. Where looking at the competitiveness of each of these teams that we're kind of trying to work out is a bit different this year, just because of the multi-yearness, I guess. We have 2021 events where teams built completely new robots, which does happen sometimes in actual season, but very rarely. So it's going to be interesting to see what everybody has for their list. In terms of eligibility for the top 25 for our list, we have a few standards. So number one is the team has to have played in either an official event or an off-season event for 2021. So even if a team was revealed but didn't actually play, we're not going to include them in the top 25 just because we haven't seen them on a field in a real match. Things always look a little bit better when you can curate how it looks. Other thing is, if teams have multiple robots, there were several teams that designed multiple robots, they won't be included twice on the list. We'll just pick one of them, and then whoever has them on their list will be advocating for that specific robot. I think in general, those are going to be the second robots the teams built. In terms of competitiveness, just generally, when you do it the second time around, you're a little bit better off. Is there anything else that I'm missing in terms of eligibility?
So like infinite recharge at home does not count. Sorry.
There's one other rule: is there has to be some match footage available. If we just couldn't find any footage, we don't really know that well how good the team was, so they're not eligible if there's no available match footage.
Unlucky for some teams, but
Yeah, well, at least we've gotten a little bit better as a first community, kind of getting through all the matches and getting them up and linked to TBA. Some of the matches weren't on TBA but are still available on YouTube, so there was a bunch of digging. So, just to give you guys an idea of how tonight's going to go, every one of us has different top 25 lists, and they're going to be revealed one team at a time, starting with, well, we're actually going to talk about honorable mentions, but starting with the 25th team. And we're going to kind of discuss each team as they kind of go up, and we'll see. We do have over to, what direction is that? Nope, this direction over there. The overall list. So it's just summing the average, basically, of where each of the teams rank, and it's going to be interesting because none of us know what each other's lists are. And at the end, maybe we'll do a bit of a vote with chat who they thought had the best list.
yeah, so feel free to chime in and flame everyone else's picks except for mine. And
Especially Tagen's.
Yeah, you just put a target on your back.
I think we will be flaming Taegen enough on air. So I think you're good, Taegen. You're good from chat.
Exactly.
They'll
Chat
be
doesn't
nice.
need to. Chat doesn't need
I'll have
to.
pity.
All right.
Okay,
And then
so
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the other thing is I don't know if like a video of the robot pops up when we mention them. I don't know what overlays
Yeah,
we got.
we'll link to some videos and matches as the team gets mentioned,
Yeah.
I guess.
We also keep talking. We're all like, yeah, I think we'll have like the same top like 3 teams. And I was like, yeah, that seems reasonable. And I'm like, okay, yes, but also I've got a feeling that we're all thinking like, yeah, everyone has the same 3 teams, and it's definitely gonna be like 3 different teams.
I personally think the top 2 are much easier than the third. The third was
That's
hard. Is
fair.
where it
That
got
is
hard.
fair.
I disagree.
That's fair.
No, okay.
Okay, well we'll get
Well,
there when we get there.
Good
Starting
start.
off,
Good start, boys.
honorable mentions. Just a couple teams that 2 to 3 teams that you just barely missed out on the top 25. Starting with Evan. How about you?
Okay, first team that is my honorable mention is 6941. They are from China. They had very good statistics. Unfortunately, only like 1 or 2 match videos were available for them on the entire internet, so I could not find enough information to warrant putting them in my top 25, but I believe they could have been in it if I had seen enough footage, but I did not, and I do not know if they would have made it. So they definitely could be in the top 25 actually, but there's not enough match footage for me to feel comfortable putting them there, so they are my honorable mention, at least my first honorable mention.
Just go through a bunch, I guess. I don't know for you, Evan.
Do you want to go to Taegen
Yeah.
or my second honorable mention?
Yeah,
Okay, my second honorable mention is 4910. They were very effective at both of their, or all 3, I think, of their off-season events. They had quick cycle times. They weren't quite as accurate on the shooting as I would have liked to see, but their cycle times were very good, and they're the best team at the off-season events that they attended.
We'll scoot over to Danny. You got 2 teams for us?
Yep. The first team I would like to highlight is Team 624 Kryptonite out of Texas. Their performance at the Texas Cup, well, after they took some time to improve their programming, wowed many, making it all the way to the finals of a very stacked event. And my next team is a team that actually did only competed all the way back in week 1 of the competition season. That would be Team 2200 Robotics from Canada. Their performance at the Durham College event was all but unstoppable, and
True.
the
We did get stopped by them.
yep,
Well, I guess not them, but yeah, they were good.
and their effective shooter design definitely gave me something to study over the 2020 offseason, long as it was.
All right, Taegen,
I'm
you're up.
Yeah, I was literally just changing. I've been like bouncing back and forth between a few teams for like who's 25th, who's an honorable mention, who's in there. So 2 teams. One is 74-98, Wingus and Dingus from New Zealand, competed at the Canadian Pacific Regional. Won the event. The only thing that I think they would have fixed out to a lot of the strong teams you'll see didn't have climbers. This one did have climbers. This one didn't, but I think it was still very good. It was 364. They competed at, I believe, I forget what the name of the event was. They only did a regional, if I'm remembering correctly, but I forget. Team Fusion.
Sweet.
And
All
then
right.
Brennan, I guess
My 2.
you're last.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, well, Evan sniped one of them. 49-10. Super, super good team. Just barely missed the cutout for me. Oh, I apologize for that. Yeah, I realize that they can't hear when you're talking when we cut over. Thanks. We'll fix that for the when we transition again. Yeah, so 49-10, super good team. We already talked a little bit about them. The other one that I had that just barely missed the cut is 67, the hot team. Very good shooter, very good team. Just barely missing out for me as well there. Any
Cool.
surprises between those omissions?
I'm surprised by Tagen's omission of Wingus and Dingus,
Ooh,
personally.
A mission on the list, yeah. And like I said, I literally was changing the list up until the very last minute. They were a team that I had them like bouncing back and forth. The only thing for me was their auto. Otherwise, I think they were really, really spectacular.
Yeah, they had one of the highest, if not the highest, no, not the highest, but one of the highest inner percentages of any of the
Yes.
teams. They were very, very good at making inner shots. Their points were throughout the competition were more than half of their shots were inners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's just not. Their
So
auto was 3 balls, and that was it. And I think for me, for a team to make the top 25, one of my criteria was that they had to have a pickup auto at some point.
yeah.
okay.
So
Into the actual top 25. Anybody wants to start us off with their
Well,
spiciness?
I can go first.
Sure.
A team that we talked about before the show, and I was trying to hold back laughter when we were talking about them. My 25 team is 2052 Nightcrawler. They had an excellent performance at their first event. I think it was week 1 or 2. I don't remember which one
Week
what
2.
it was called. Week 2. It was one of the Minneapolis, I think, events, and they ended up getting picked first overall and winning the event with a very strong shooter, a good cross-field auto, and consistent and good driving against hard defense throughout some of the event. So they barely snuck it. They're one of 6 teams that occupied my number 25 slot. 7 teams, I should say. Actually, they're one of 7 teams that occupied my 25 slot throughout the construction of my list, and they are the team that barely snuck on, but definitely had a good robot.
Interesting.
I don't know, Danny, you played with them 2491. I don't know if you got to actually be. I don't know if you were at that event, but
Yes, so
They literally
was
won the
my
same alliance.
last.
well,
was
I
my
didn't know
last.
if you were actually there or like I couldn't remember when you graduated.
That was my
Dang.
last ever event as a student. Yes,
There you
and
go. Fond
and
memories.
I remember I was in my team was in rank 1 and they were in rank 3, and I remember I was very scared as to like whether or not they would accept or decline because like maybe they would have a better shot at getting a climber from the 3rd seed rather than the first. So I'm very grateful that they accepted our invitation. They're a fantastic team to work with, and they complemented our strengths wonderfully. I guess while I'm talking, I should talk about my 25th team.
Go for it.
This team really shone in the Infinite Recharge at Home challenges and backed up their success with some very, very good performances in their 2 off-season events. I chose Team 2992, the SS Prometheus from Louisiana. And I noticed that in their matches that while they sometimes would not be as consistent, they definitely had what it took to be very strategically flexible in their matches, and they could be a great asset to an alliance with any weakness they could cover.
Yeah, they
Interesting.
took out a strong alliance at Ozark Mountain Brawl. They beat 364 and 16 with 2 of their robots in the finals. So, yep. Yeah. Strong
That's impressive.
performance by them at that event.
Yeah.
Dang.
This is the video I watched for 364 too. So like this whole alliance I think was really wicked actually. I quite liked the whole event. Going on, I guess I want to bring
Sure.
up my 25th pick, 35-38, the Robo Jackets from Michigan. And this team, for me, the biggest thing about them was figuring out which robot I would consider as their submission for it. But I think I wanted to go with their 2020 performance. Actually, I was really impressed by it, and I think it was just it just seemed very very good for a week 1 event, so that's why I had them stand out there. And the big thing, like 35-38, they did a ton of stuff with the IR at home challenges, obviously finishing rank 1 in their division for that, but also rank 2 event winner at Southfield in 2020 in week 1. I don't know, I was just very impressed with their robot. The pixel count on this match footage is great. But just in general, their auto was quite good. Their cycles were very good. And their ability to get around defense was one of the things that I thought stood out to me. So they snuck onto my list in the 25th spot.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
I feel like you think they're too low.
yeah.
I feel like
Really?
you think they're too low.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. My 2015 that just barely snuck in is 1086 Blue Cheese. Really strong team, great autonomous, great driving, shot like crazy. Won their off-season events that they went to, won their actual events that they went to. So really strong team. I think that in terms of the other teams, I found the whole like actually 25 to maybe like 20 range really close to
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
to kind of go through. And what really pushed them over the edge for me was just the fact that they were so consistent in winning events, and these events had some out of state teams that were coming, and they still showed up and won. So that's what snuck them on to the 25th spot for me.
Fair
All
enough.
right.
I'm interested to see
Uh,
where other people have 35-38, which is
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm setting myself up for something here.
well, Danny
but-
also is like 2200 honorable mention. So like I'm like, okay.
Mm.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's gonna take a stab at 24 here?
All right, I can go again.
Sure.
My 24th pick is Team 2338 Gear It Forward. They were one of the more consistent teams. They constantly got several cycles in a match. I didn't see a ton of them against defense, but they did a very good job of that trench run cycling. Very, very consistent shooting, very, very consistent cycling. They won, I'm pretty sure, they won their regional, and I think they won both of their off-season events. I'm not 100% sure, but they did. I think they went undefeated at least one of them. I don't remember if they went undefeated at the other one too, but they did a very good job at the off season. Oh, no, they only went to one off season event, but they did go undefeated at it, so I was not wrong about that. Yeah, so strong performance, cycling, strong shooting, overall strong performance by Team 2338 Gear It Forward.
Interesting.
And I guess I can go next with a team from the same state, Team 2451 Ponage from up in St. Charles. They have attended 3 off-season events this year: R2OC, Kettering Kickoff Saturday, and Robotier Rumble. And I noticed throughout watching all of these events, as they are at least somewhat local to me, that their performance improved every single time. And from gaining more practice, especially driving under the trench, having flexibility in their paths, and adding several more autonomous modes, they became an extremely valuable alliance partners and even managed to prove their worth in the very tough state to compete in that is Michigan. So yeah, I really think they're on a great trajectory this year.
Yeah, 2451 was another one of those teams that's kind of in this range for me as well. They didn't quite make the list for my top 25, but yeah, great pick there, Danny, I think.
I literally watched this match for like 4 different possible robots to be on this
Mhm.
one. Like
Yeah.
this whole
This
Kettering
event was
Kickoff was
really
a very
good.
strong event. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a very strong event for sure.
Yeah. 2451 is a team that I will talk about later. That's a spoiler, but I will.
Spoilers! 24th for me was 36-47, so swapping over to district teams. Maybe I'm just, very district heavy. I don't know. But Wyndham Millennium
a
Falcons.
district
Wait,
team.
they're not? I swore they were
They're
from
from
New England.
California.
3467 is from New England.
Not the
Taegen.
first time
Shoot,
this
did
has
I-
happened.
Did I do
3674, of
Oh,
course,
no.
is from Washington, and
Throwbacks to
3476 is from
1310 and
California.
2013 IRI.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll go with it. I'm not sure who I meant anymore. I don't remember who I meant anymore, but
Uh-oh.
we're going with
I
this.
think you meant this team. I think this is the right team.
36-47 Millennium Falcons from California, not a district. Sorry for rubbing that in. Oh yeah, no, this is. Okay, I looked at the photo. Okay, I had a moment.
Saved.
We're good. Tall robot, but didn't let them stop them for having very good cycles, as well as a quick little climber that they've got on there. And they played with the 294 in 2020 at the Del Mar Regional. And that was, for me, their strongest performance. Although I guess they did win Beach Blitz, so that's hard to say, okay, that wasn't a strong performance. But they performed very well in the 2020 season, which I almost valued. Maybe I overvalued that, but I don't know. I like their robot. I thought their turret was good at turreting. It's very high praise, I guess. But yeah, and a good intake as well. So those design features that I really valued were in there for me. So that is Millennium Falcons. That is not from a district, but is still
Good
a good team.
choice. Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we'll see them potentially a few times on lists here. All right. 24th team is a bit of a lesser known team that has gotten pretty good recently, that I was really impressed with their 2020 performance. I didn't see any 2021 performance, though, from them because they didn't attend any events that I saw, at least. 4020. They had a really nice tall bot, looked like Swerve, was driving around shooting really well, shooting over top of defense, so we saw that from them. Really solid robot, didn't seem to jam at all, and they won their event as well, so with 694. So yeah, I thought that was a surprising team for me to be on this list. Going in, I wasn't like, oh yeah, this team's definitely, but credit to them. They have a very, very solid robot, and I was debating even putting them higher on this list. So fantastic work from them this year.
Yeah, I agree. This year, I think, 2020 in particular, that robot was really something special from them, and I hope that's a sign of good things to come, because we like it when teams start to pop off. Always good to see.
I just want
Their
to pull up
breakout year was probably
2019.
when they found their way into the finals at 2 regionals as the Alliance captain and was picked in the first round at their division. So
Yeah, full
Yeah.
credit to them. Good job, 4020.
They're a team that when I was looking, I'm like, all right, I know 4020 and 694 are both good. I watched the Palmetto final. I was like, 4020. All right.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say if I put them in or not, but they were definitely one of the teams that was on the bubble. They made not my short list, they made my short list of like 40 teams.
The shorter list.
And they may have made my top 25. We'll see.
Good stuff. The Palmetto Regional, I didn't realize it was a pretty strong event.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I think we were competing. I was either competing or volunteering that week, so I didn't actually get to see it then.
All right, Taegen, you go up here.
23rd. All right, 5813. Morpheus.
Ooh, interesting.
So, this robot is the best robot that has some wood on it that you will see. And honestly, this was one of those teams where I didn't think they would be in the conversation, to be honest. And then I looked at it, because you look at the robot and teams have that stereotype of wood teams, whatever. This team is really something special. Look at those results and tell me they're not doing some awesome stuff. They're auto on point, and it kind of looks they use the short shooting spot most of the time, and they're able to get some good cycles in. They were ranking high for a reason, and so I guess you'll see in a second first one, and then for me, like I mentioned earlier, like a requirement for me was a multi-auto, and here they go to go do that. So I don't know. I was very impressed by them. I think it's a sign of good things to come. Their 2021 performance was quite good.
Yeah, this
Thumbs up.
team, I mentioned a little bit before the show, although not by name. I kind of hinted at them. And Brennan, I'm not sure if you caught that this is the team I was talking about. You said you might have an idea, but this is the team I was talking about. If you look at their OPR at their off-season events, you'll see that they were at least pretty good. And if you watch their event matches, you'll see they're one of the most consistent teams.
Yes,
Like they just
consistency.
absolutely every match they do the same thing, get multiple cycles down through this trench zone and just shoot in the air, and they just do that over and over again. You can see a team's trying to defend them, and it's not particularly effective as they get around them relatively easily.
Yeah, and one of the best things too is they're doing the shooting from that protected zone. So if they are getting defended, they're most likely racking up tech foul points. So when there's a little bit of something to soften the blow if they are getting heavy defense. So I don't know. Credit to them. I quite like their robot. I think it's simple yet effective, and I mean, what's better than that? So that's them on my list.
Definitely the best wood bot, that's for sure.
How,
No competition.
yeah. All
Okay,
right.
my 23rd. I'll go next. I'm interested to see what you guys think. 16-19, Up a Creek, in 23rd. Very strong team. Maybe surprising that they're this low. Multi-ball auto, really good trench cycler. They had the ramp to be able to pick up from the human player nice and quick. For me, a lot of these teams in this range are very similar. And the thing that splits them out are very small things. And one of the things that really separated the teams that I have above them is just the inner percentage that I saw, at least from them, wasn't quite as high, or just general shot accuracy. Because a lot of these teams, basically in this range, I found they all had about the same number of cycles, and it really came down to autonomous precision, and then also how many shots they were making.
What year were you focusing on from 16-19?
They're like the same
2021 or
robot.
2020? Yeah, but performance-wise, I noticed a difference between 2021 and 2020 that was pretty significant. So that's something that we will
Interesting.
talk about later.
I did watch both of their events, but I didn't say that. I wouldn't say that either of them were particularly different, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
All right,
I don't know.
Danny, you're up.
All right, this team has gone a lot more hype over the years I've competed in FRC, and they have competed at a lot of FRC events, including hosting one that was hosted on 2 separate days. So you may be surprised to see them of this low. I have team 1684, the Chimeras. Their execution of a swerve drive after in my opinion their breakout 2019 season, where everyone hopped on the train of their wheel beak hatch intake, was very good. Although in the 2020 season their shot angle took a little fixing that they quickly addressed for their first event, which was finite recharge. And since then they have won 3 events and then made the finals at the other as the first overall pick.
So what do you think they're missing then? What do you think would give them that extra boost?
More cycles per match.
Did I ask you, Evan?
I'm just
Was I
joking.
asking you?
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, no, they were a team. Spoiler alert. They also just barely missed out on my top 25, which maybe is surprising to people. But yeah, I think that they had a really great robot. Obviously, it won many events. Yeah, solid pick, I think.
Agreed.
Gotta love the swerve.
Swerve.
All right, so
Swerve
what
for
do we got? We got
days.
some FIM, we got some regional teams, New England, and
All right, Evan. What are we gonna get
All
for your
right.
23rd?
Another team from the upper Midwest. That's team 2481, Robo Tears.
Ooh.
So, long shots. They're fun, they're cool, they're inaccurate. So, they definitely had some matches where they were dialed in, making a lot of these long shots, but even in those matches, they weren't making a lot of inners. But their cycle times were not something that was beat by many, or potentially. Like, the very, very few teams could keep up with their cycle times. And they had a pretty solid, like, 2.5 cycle autonomous as well. Yeah, my only concern is the accuracy of these long shots. There's not the consistency you'd want to see, but other than that, very, very good. And if they could get that dialed in, like everything they're doing, if you add that shot accuracy, they could be top 10 or top 5, but they didn't have the accuracy for me necessarily to want to put them higher than 23rd. But still, a very good team. And I guess another team from the upper Midwest. A pattern I didn't actually notice all three of these teams are from the Midwest until now, but they are. So Danny, I got you covered.
I appreciate it. I mean, hey, since your screen name is based off corn, it only makes sense.
Mhm.
Ew.
Interesting. None of us have doubled up yet, so it's going to be
Nope.
interesting.
Nope, there are no duplicate teams. I have a feeling there will be later. Like give it a few more rounds, but
Mhm. Yeah, I think only one of us is gonna put like 973 on our list. That seems like it makes sense.
there you go. Thank you. That was the team I
Uh,
was worried about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I will go up again here.
Cool.
And another trench shooter with a turret that climbs, that is pretty awesome and wins lots of events. 3310, Blackhawk Robotics, up in 22nd. They won. Well, they didn't win the Texas event, or did they? Yeah, they did. They did win the Texas event, the
Mhm.
multi-field one, which was super important. That's what kind of set them across or apart from me a little bit in terms of their actual performance. The other thing that mattered to me is again their inner percentage was just a little bit higher than a team like 1619. I think that both those teams are very comparable in terms of like what their robot does. You know, just those quick cycles from the human player going through the trench, kind of low bot, and then getting as many as you can in. Both of those teams extremely successful in that. So yeah, they are up there in the 22nd spot for me. First
I think
Texas
that's
team.
low.
Me
First
too.
Texas team.
I think that's low.
Me
For
too.
me, that's too low.
We're gonna
I
see.
mean,
We're
this
gonna
is
see.
a very good event, but Len, they were clearly top 2 team at that event, I think. I mean, I don't know about that. We'll see where I put them, but
Yeah.
that's obviously higher than 22. So,
Spoilers.
yeah.
All right.
Let's go, Evan.
I will go Evan.
Oh,
Go
okay.
Evan.
I have a team that did something that not a lot of teams did. In fact, they might have been the only one. They had a successful buddy climb in an event. That's right, Team 4613, Barker Redbacks is my team here. They had a very good auto, solid cycling. I mean, I'm not really giving them many bonus points for that buddy climb because it wasn't particularly common that it affected anything, but it was cool, so it's worth mentioning. But yeah, very good auto, good cycling, dominated their Australian off-season event. So Barker Redbacks is my pick here.
And one of the latest Hall of Fame teams.
True.
Yeah.
Hannah. Congratulations. Yeah, that was this year too, so they're having a stellar season.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. I do not have them in my top 25. They were another one of those teams that just barely missed out on the cut. There's so many. It was hard to choose.
Yeah, there were like
Wow.
legitimately 10 teams I would have felt good putting in these bottom 3,
Yeah.
4, 5 slots. Maybe, yeah, maybe even
Yeah.
more.
Now my Wi-Fi is back.
Oh,
Welcome back.
Thanks, IIT. I love the Wi-Fi here. It's
Wow, way to plug your school by calling their Wi-Fi garbage.
It's fast. It just disconnects a lot. And
Well, now that you're back, give us your pick.
Wait.
Okay,
Hang on. Evan, are you gonna pick any like district teams ever, or are you just like a regional fan
No,
like me?
no, I'll pick it. I'll
Okay,
pick,
how long?
spoiler
How long
alert, I'll pick
until?
at least one.
How long?
Do
How
you want me
long
to
can we
answer?
wait?
No.
Do you want me to answer
I'm
that?
just making fun of you. Okay.
All right.
okay,
Sorry.
and
Go for it, Danny.
for my 20-second slot, I will be the first person to technically do double up on a team that was mentioned as one on my top 25 list, and I will pick another team from the South Pacific region. Yeah, that would be Team 7498, Wingus and Dingus. In addition to having in my opinion, the best team name in all of FRC. Like, it's just simple, it's good. Their teleop cycling was just fantastic, and their auto, while having room to improve, just hit every time. And from their Vex background, I have every bit of faith that they will continue, that they would have continued to iterate and improve.
Yeah, I agree.
Sadly, I do not think they are registered for the 2022 FRC season.
They not?
Oh no.
None of the Australia Oceanian teams are, because there's not
Oh,
really confirmed of
Yeah, and
stuff
right.
like
this is likely not a permanent thing, probably due to COVID restrictions, but yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand did go ham on those, so.
yeah. New Zealand is very very harsh on the travel restrictions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
And to give a little bit of context on 7498, having computed all of the 2020 ranking scores from every competition, they had the second highest of all of 2020, being 0.01 behind the highest team, which was 294, Beach Cities Robotics. So yeah, all things considered, Wingus and Dingus had a fantastic first event, and they were more than ready to improve.
Yeah.
This
Agreed.
wait.
Yeah.
What stat is this?
Highest.
highest ranking score.
Yeah.
Ranking score.
Most
Okay, I thought you
RPs.
said district score, and I'm like, that doesn't sound
Yeah,
right. But
Wingus and Dingus from the New
yeah.
Zealand district.
Well, I mean, like you could
Coming
still calculate
new.
it, but like there are teams that got winning and chairmans and rank one, or at least
Yeah.
one. I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. Yep, I just misheard you.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, another team
yeah.
that just barely missed it on my top 25. I think they were like 28th or something. But
Yeah. They
their
were
driving
literally
was
26th.
phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were just cycling like they were too one of those teams that just like did up the same path over and over again. And it was like consistent every time. 5172 is my
Ooh.
22nd. So Gators, a regional team on the list. They were at the 2020 Great Northern Regional. They were finalists there up against 1619. And I quite liked their robot. I think it was again very efficient at what it did. It was what did I have written down for it? I have some notes. I took a few notes. Just like they were on par with some of the other teams around this region, but also scored the control panel in their matches, which would be like another cycle worth of stuff. So I gave them that, and I like their turret. Look at this. I like the holes on it. It's kind of cool. But just in general, I think it was a very efficient robot, and I think it would have been one that tuned. And you've got the inners too. I think it had a pretty decent inner percentage. So I liked their robot. And I put them 23rd. That's pretty much it. I think they ranked
20
low, but like they were better than their rank, you know.
I mean, they're definitely better than the 11th best team at that event.
12th. They ranked 12th at that event, and I
Well, they're
think that
better than
was
the 12th best team too.
like yeah, like they were still picked first overall for a reason, you know.
Yeah, I think you're too low on that personally.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
I have them quite a bit higher on my list.
we'll see.
Fair.
But yeah,
But
they're
See.
yeah,
definitely a very strong team for sure.
mm-hmm.
This is some cool video. I hadn't actually seen that video before.
You
Yeah,
could,
I'm
I
on
guess,
board.
with this team, you can make an argument that their rank in the world is better than their rank was at that event.
Yes.
That is true.
I agree.
That is true.
Okay.
Not a lot of teams are like that unless there's like not a lot of teams like that. Okay, next person. Whoever wants to go.
Let's go, Danny.
All right. I'm going to once again choose a team that has been mentioned from the state in which I currently reside. That would be the host of the Robotier Rumble, Team 2481 from down in Tremont. And once again, what's there to say? Their cycle times, their long shot with their super cool bike wheel mechanism that, frankly, I wish I had thought of. Just astounded many. And actually for finite recharge, they built an entire second robot in just the few days leading up to it. It was marked as Team 9330, the Beach Bums, which was a nod to their 2016 championship winning alliance partners, 330, the Beach Bots. May they rest in peace. Just they had a lot of hype coming into the season, and having won 2 of their events and made it to semifinals at their third, they have definitely lived up to it.
Yeah, I mean the bike wheel is one of the freaking coolest things we've seen, I think, in ages. To me, that's it's like it's so incredibly unique, and it works like a charm, in my opinion. I think this is a good pick. Thumbs up.
I will say that they are not the only team I've ever seen with a bike wheel on the robot.
Correct.
They're not the
Correct.
only team, but they're the only one to use as a shooter that I know of. So that's
Bike
cool.
wheel drivetrain. Let's go.
You didn't use it as a drivetrain either. The team taking a particular.
Well, yeah, I'd hope they didn't use it as a drivetrain.
That'd be so cool though. Like one of those, like a Ford Model T drive
Oh
base.
man. Bumpers
Like-
would be insanely
Oh.
hard for that.
Well, no, you just wouldn't put the bumpers about those wheels. You'd put them you'd put a frame lower,
Around.
and you'd.
That'd be so fun though. I'd love to see that. I mean, it's a
Let's do
terrible
it.
idea, but
Let's
I'd
do
love to
it.
see it. All right.
Brennan's hovering over Evan's box, so I think that means you're next.
Oh, okay. Does that mean I'm next? Okay,
for
well, my next pick is Team 971, Spartan Robotic. They shot decently. They were pretty well. They were, I think, the 6th seed alliance at Chizzy Champs. No, that's not right. That's definitely not right. 5?
5th, yep.
5th? Okay.
Yeah,
They're the
captain
5th
of
seed
5.
alliance captain at Chizzy Champs. They were quarterfinalists. They were decent shooters. I think they were pretty good. I don't know what to say. They had a good like washing machine mechanism is what they called it. For sorting, they had a solid tower, solid shooting. They didn't really take a lot of long shots, even though I know they had that capability. And then they performed a little bit better, I thought, at Madtown. So a solid shooting robot. They slide their way into the 21st position on my list.
Nice.
Well, Evan.
You still haven't picked a district team here, bro.
He is the fanboy. Also,
Hey,
none of your teams so far are on my list, which is
oh wow.
Wait.
Okay.
interesting.
Well,
None of Evan's teams,
Yeah.
or none of anyone else's teams?
None of Evan's teams. No, other people.
I'm sure you'll get there.
We'll get there eventually, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
No, just completely separate lists.
We'll definitely get there by certain position. At a certain
Nah.
position. There's no way. Well, that team you've already said, and then that team, there's no way you're not saying that. Okay, continue.
Fair.
Okay, I got myself next here. And we're going to go with a team that Evan knows quite well. 1425. Very, very strong team. Once again, they're a trench shooter. Once again, just small things that pointed it out for me. One of the things that, while it's not the biggest of deal, the ability to translate across the pole when they're climbing is something that separated them out from 3310 and 1619. They had similar cycle rates, similar shooting accuracy. So, yeah, they're sitting here in the 21st slot, first PNW team so far to be talked about.
I
For
heard
those of you who don't know, this is my alma mater, by the way. So
I
I was
heard
on the
That's a
team in high
fancy
school.
way of saying it. Sorry, go ahead, Denny.
I heard they hosted an off season, but unfortunately, I could not get a chance to watch it. So after
I
this,
was there.
I'd love to take a look at some matches because I think I had omitted some teams perhaps wrongly just because I had not seen the developments made at that off season.
Fair.
Yeah. So I was at both of the off-season events they attended, and also the regional event, or the district event they attended. In elims, specifically in the semifinals and early finals, they looked very, very dominant. Had definitely had some consistency issues, but when they were on, they were cycling very quickly, and they had a very high inner rate. And they had that climber that was traversing. At the events about last month, they won both of them. Although the shooter didn't look quite as in tune as it had at the Clackamas event, the climber was just as consistent, and they managed to win both of the events that had a relatively strong team list.
All right,
Nice.
Taegen.
Oh, it's me. Okay. 5460.
Ooh.
Is that all I'm gonna get? Is just an ooh?
Are you gonna? Do you want
The
us to
rebuild
react?
or the
Oh.
the original?
The original is the one on my list.
Interesting. Did they compete with their original?
Yes.
Yes.
No, sorry. They
They-
didn't compete during 2020. They competed
Oh,
during
then no. It's got to be.
using,
Then it's got to be the
um,
the
but
2021 one.
I think they competed with the.
It's
their
the one that
first
they
event?
didn't compete. Not the one with
I'm not
Chesney
sure.
Champs. It's the one they competed with at Kettering Kickoff. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I have it written down as their 2020 robot, but I was mostly watching their matches from Kettering, where I was impressed by their robot. It's a good robot. Again, some room for improvement, but all things considered, their autos were pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like they
The
did compete with their
6-ball,
new
yeah.
one, but yeah.
Yeah, either way,
They had a
I'm
good
gonna be
robot for
honest.
sure.
Like, I feel like everyone's gonna say that I have them too low based on the reactions, but that's all.
But they are
I don't know.
not in my top 25.
Well, then that works too. Okay. I don't know. I'm getting very self-conscious about my list all of a sudden. Okay.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, they were
Join
they
the
were up there
club.
for sure.
Join
They
the
were up
club.
there for
Okay.
sure.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So I don't know. 5460, strike zone. They are. I think like they've had their ups and downs this off season, but all things considered, their robot's very strong, and I think just tuning it in with getting driver practice, keep things going. I thought I was going to sneeze. My apologies. But yeah, that's them in my 21st slot.
Number 20. Let's go with Danny.
All right, and I will go with yet another Illinois team, this time from the Chicago metropolitan area. I'll go with my favorites from Oswego team, 2338, Gear It Forward. They came out the gate swinging at the Midwest Regional, just putting in so many shots, both inner and outer, and improving their climb rate over the course of the event. They even had a wheel spinner functional at Midwest, getting them to stage 2 at certain points, and when a 4-team scorch occurred, their scouting team in particular was very prepared to take 2 teams who had been under the radar for quite some time, but had been performing very well at that event, and they found their way to a pretty resounding win at a very tough competition. Their consistent trench run cycling and autonomous modes definitely had me very impressed. It was very reminiscent of their 2015 robot, where they made it all the way to Einstein semifinals, which at the time was only 4 teams, after coming back from a 43-point match in their division semifinals, which is one of the, in my opinion, the best comebacks in FRC history. And this 2021 offseason, R2OC they struggled with some vision issues and some climber consistency issues, but they rebounded in quick fashion at Robotier Rumble, as aforementioned, going entirely undefeated throughout the event. So,
Nice.
yeah,
I
yeah,
cannot be the only person who has no idea how 2022 was available in that Midwest on that
Oh,
back
I have
swing. Like
no
they
idea.
should have been probably a late first round, mid to late first round pick.
yeah, 2022 in general is just a very slept on team. There's a whole thing in Midwest related chats about it. Like 2022 had quite the good cycler in 2019, earning the second pick of the 7th seed at the Midwest Regional. And then they attended 2 subsequent regionals and somehow went unpicked at both of them. So I'm really happy that they managed to get a blue banner under their belt at Midwest. And I hope that in the 2022 season, which, is for them,
Mhm.
I hope they can get another banner and make the championship there.
They're not
I
registered yet, but I hope they find an
Mhm.
event to go to.
Yeah. I hope I can see them field side at Midwest.
Okay. Taegen, let's hear
That is me.
yours.
A team that has been mentioned and is on other people's lists is now going to be on my list. 2481. Sticking with the Illinois region, Roboteers is going on my list here. So, in the same zone again, the bike wheel that we've now mentioned several times, along with a strong auto, and because they didn't have they had the long shots, they had faster cycles, so I didn't mind as much their accuracy going down, because it just meant that their cycles were faster and they were able to do more of them than the average team. So that's why I put them in 20th.
Bike wheel, cool. Epic
Bike wheel,
robot.
cool.
Okay, Evan.
All right, here it is. The pick everyone's been waiting for.
Is
Oh.
it a district?
No, it's not a district.
Oh no.
But it's team 254, the Cheesy Poops.
Ooh.
They,
Oh,
as everybody who watched Cheesy Champs knows, they had consistency issues. But they also had win on this very, very strong shooter that shot very, very quickly and shot a very, very high inner percentage. I mean, they had cycles where they're just sniping 5 inners in like a second. And they had technical issues, which keeps them from being higher, but they had a very, very high ceiling, which keeps them from being lower. And I feel like a team with a ceiling as high as the Poops has to make the list somewhere. I mean, I'm not even factoring in other like seasons, but they definitely had these matches where they maybe even just portions of matches they look really, really strong. I mean, I think it's a robot that in 2 weeks of normal season time would have been absolutely top tier. But as of right now, they're not. But I mean, I think if they could work in the shop for 2 weeks, like on full build season, and they competed at Meltdown Throwdown, I think I'd be ranking in the top 5.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to because of how high of a ceiling and how much potential they showed during that event, that I have to at least rank them, even if they don't necessarily have the consistency of other teams.
Interesting. Evan,
What?
we still
Are you
have
gonna
no teams in common on our list.
Okay. I think that'll change soon, though.
I think it will. But yeah, no
I would
254 for me.
assume.
Again, it's just consistency issues. I 100% agree with you. If they had the consistency up there, I think literally 1 week, 7 days of working, they could have,
I don't even
you know.
think they needed that, to be
Yeah,
honest. I think they
possibly,
just needed,
possibly. That's true.
yeah,
But
like realistically, the big thing for me with Poofs is that the fact that their auto was on and their end game was on is just the tuning during the teleop for me,
Mhm.
and that's really just practice.
they were in the conversation, but not quite there. A team that was there, that did a rebuild, for me at least, 74-57. Super do. First Indiana team.
Ooh, that is bright yellow.
Swerve Talbot did really well. Unfortunately, they kind of ran into a really tough alliance for their main event, Finite Recharge. But yeah, they were really solid. They had really good accuracy. They were hitting some inners there. They had a good autonomous mode. Their climbing was reliable. All around solid robot. Doing a really good job.
Fair enough.
A team that also made my secondary shortlist of or my better shortlist, my smaller shortlist.
Your smaller short list, your shorter list.
My shorter list. They showed consistency in the rebuild, and I mean, good shooter. What else can be said?
Super Duper is legit. Like they definitely have a very solid program and have built a solid foundation from even before their rookie year. I once saw an entire copy pasta about reasons why someone loved 7457 so much. So yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay,
I
Taegen.
have not seen that. I'm okay with not seeing that. 254 is on my list here.
Ooh, so close to
So
Evans
again,
there.
yeah, the same reasons as Evan basically just mentioned. The build itself, the design, so nice. Frictionless design, just a bit of friction on the field performance, but the tuning would have gotten it definitely way higher. So I love the robot, and I would love to see it tuned, even just like in some videos, like chef's kiss.
For sure. Evan.
Oh, me again. Who's next on the list? Team 2451. Ponage, another Midwest
One day
team.
there will be.
I guess I like Midwest teams a lot. But this team
Thank you,
is
Corn
a
Man.
unique team on this list. Their climber was ineffective. They didn't really work all that well. But their shooter and their cycling, I honestly believe, was top 10 in the world. So the fact they don't have a climber is their shooting was good enough to get them on this list at the 19 spot. They had this very, very clean cycling time, very, very good shooter. Actually, there was only like 4 or 5 teams. There are 5 teams that, according to the data I got from scouting, had better cycling than them. So just based on this, they'd be tied for 6th on pure cycling. Now, a climber had issues. That could be fixed. They would have fixed it by the time they played another regional if that was like on season. I think. I mean, they're a good enough team that making a climber with no bag, they would have been able to do it. So that would have moved them up, I think, top 10. But without a climber, without a very functional climber, I have to put him here. But very, very, very good shooter in cycling for 2451.
Epic.
We still have no similar teams.
Next one, I promise.
Okay. My next one is a team that we also have already talked about, Gators 5172. Really strong team. Fantastic shooter. I love their confidence, especially at their event, to go for last second climbs, or more last second climbs than like 30 seconds. That just shows just how prepared that team was and how good they were at executing on that kind of thing. Something that the majority of teams were not comfortable doing was something that they were able to do. And yeah, you just got to give it to them. Let's head over to Danny.
Good job, Gators.
All right, I will for the first time in this part, I will talk about a district team that would be Team 5813 Morpheus, which some additional fun facts, they only currently, last I checked, have 6 students. So
Jeez, I didn't even know that.
That's impressive.
I like to call them the New England Beach Bots. And yeah, there was a match at the Battle Cry Saturday event. They were tuning their robot, and while they still made it to the second overall pick, there was one particularly funny match where their robot went over a bump and got flipped 180 degrees. And
Dang.
Sir. I didn't see this. What match was that?
I think it was one of the eliminations. I can't remember it
Oh, okay.
offhand.
That's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just like on the side, like
That event was a round robin event, so round
yes,
robin.
and but they've shown very consistent results, and according to scouting data that I had access to, their average number of teleop inner goals at their latest event, which was Governor's Cup Battle of the Bay, their average was 9.4 inner goals, which was
Nice.
absolutely stellar. Like they've
Mm-hmm.
put in a lot of work for such a small team, and since their rookie year, they've really been a force to be reckoned with, captaining alliances at the championship twice and having a strong showing at their Division 1 year. I still kind of can't understand why they went unpicked in 2017, but they've more than made up for it since. I'm really excited to see where they go in the future.
We also know like worlds picking is always whack. Like
Oh,
worlds picking.
2017 Carson, that was certainly a time.
Yeah,
That was 2017's version of 2019 Tesla.
literally though.
Okay, my 18th. We're going back to PNW. I think a team that really has flown under the radar for a while now. 1540, the Flaming Chickens. They had a super reliable shooter, great autonomous mode, tall bot. Unfortunately, they didn't win their event in 2020.
What do you mean, unfortunately? They played
For
against
them.
my old team in semifinals.
Well, unfortunately for them.
Yeah. That was a sack event, though.
It was, yeah, a very, very, very strong event. But they were, really, really strong at this event. Really liked what I was seeing there, and yeah, just a fantastic team.
What you're seeing on this video that has no. Oh, there they are. Oh, there they're gone.
PNW. We'll
Yeah,
get
it's
there
hard to scout
eventually.
One
matches.
day. I think that's part of why I think PNW is underrepresented on my list. Is just scouting so tough.
I think they might be broken in this match. This is a match that they lost.
Oh,
Yes, they were broken, or at least somewhat broken in this match. If you want to see a match where they weren't, watch semifinal 1.
Yeah, the one that they won.
Yes.
We'll get that up in a second.
cool.
Yeah, this is a team I saw in person twice. I saw them at the Clackamas event, and I saw them at the Wilsonville off-season event. They were they were definitely the most consistent team at the Wilsonville off-season event, and probably the best team as well. They did not win the event because they were picked. They're the second alliance captain, and although looking better, they had a little bit of functionality. No, they didn't have functionality issues, but the other team that they're playing against that had functionality issues suddenly got fixed in finals. But they were probably the best team of that event. Very, very consistent shooter, very, very solid driving. So not an event that we're technically allowed to use because there's no match footage of it online, but they looked good at the event. So
Source, just trust me, bro.
yep.
Okay,
That's
Taegen.
sometimes just how it is with off-season events. Like
For
in an off-season fantasy first, like scoring entire events based off someone's handwritten
screenshot,
notes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
2767
Oh,
is mine.
wow.
All right.
That is surprising.
That is
Yeah.
surprisingly high or surprisingly,
Surprisingly low. Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
I put them here because I believe that's where they should be. It's a respectable position. Strike Force. They did play in the 2021 Finite Recharge, but most of the stuff that you can see from them is from 2020, where they finished in the semis at St. Joseph's event. Literally jaw dropping, says Jeff in chat. Okay. Well,
Ignore the haters.
I believe in my picks. I think it's a wicked little robot. I think it needed a bit of tuning. I think that's why I had them where I had them. I didn't even write any notes down. I wish I had, but whatever. It's there because it's there. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, Evan.
Oh, what was it? 18?
Yeah.
Do we
Well,
have a district
Brennan,
team?
no,
we have
we
a
don't have a
team?
district team.
So we
The
share.
different
One
streak
that-
comes to an end.
that's on
Brennan
Brennan's
and I
list.
now have a team that's on both lists. Team 1619, Epic Creek Robotics.
There you go. It only took 18 teams. Oh wait,
Well,
no.
no,
It's
it took
not
7
18.
teams or 8 teams, I guess.
5, 6, 7, 8,
8.
9.
8 should be 8, right? They're good.
Yeah.
Good
15.
shooter. What are you talking
Well,
about?
there was 15 total unique teams on your 2 lists until now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I have some of Brennan's teams that he had said. Yeah, they had a pretty good shooter and a pretty good consistent bot. They were pretty good and consistent. I mean, I'm going to say that all the time with this team. They're pretty good and consistent. I mean, that's what they were. If I keep talking, I'm going to say the same thing over again. Somebody else take over, please.
All
Danny!
right, I can say my 18th, and this is a team I had the fortune of seeing up close in my first time donning zebra stripes. That would be Team 3647, the Millennium Falcons. And yes, I did get that correct.
Okay,
They're-
you know what? You know what? Fight me, Danny.
Okay, what time and place?
Right here, right now.
Part
At
of
my
me really
Okay.
wanted to
doorstep.
put.
Start walking.
Part of me, the chaotic neutral part of me wanted to put all 4 of those teams on that.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Honestly,
those would have
valid.
actually been pretty legitimate. All of them are like good, and
Yeah, you
But
could
yeah,
definitely make a case for all 4 of them.
yeah, the Millennium
Shoot, let me just
Falcons
change
had
my list real quick. Give me a sec.
Oh
the
no.
Millennium
No.
Falcons had a very good intake and a turret that worked very well if the limelight did once get shined into my eyes, but that's not any
Good.
problem.
You deserve it.
Wow, Taegen, be like that. But,
That's what
but
you
yeah,
get for reffing. Welcome to my world.
but yeah, they showed off a fantastic performance, especially on the second day of Beach Blitz, which led them to very much earn their first overall pick and win with only 2 climbers on the alliance after their third robot had to get subbed out due to an unfortunate technical issue.
Yeah.
So
Amazing team for
I
sure.
really
Can we zoom in on Danny in the corner of this photo, or of this
This is-
video?
that said
is Chesney.
Chesney. I was not
Oh,
there.
dang.
I
My
can't
bad.
I can't fly to California 2 weeks in a row. I don't have that
You could have
much money.
stayed. You could have stayed in California.
It's almost like Chesney and Beach Blitz are in 2 very separate parts of California.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
they're like
someone could have
6
given you a
hours
ride.
away.
You know,
Whatever.
that's actually true. I can't even deny that.
You could have just hopped into someone's robot crate and just called it a day.
Yeah, just went up to high
Danny in
tide
the
and be like,
robot
hey,
crate.
high tide, mind if I tag along?
Mind if I just?
All right, Taegen.
Yes, me.
Number
What number are we on?
17.
17. The first Canadian team to make anyone's list. 188.
Ooh.
Blizzard. Don't make that face.
Ooh.
You got 2 teams low. What is this?
Maybe you have 2 teams too low. 188 Blizzard from Toronto, Ontario. They were at the 2020 Durham District event. The reason I have them as low as I do is I think the robot was super capable, but they drove over balls constantly and beached themselves constantly in the videos that I watched. And that slowed down their cycle times. I think they could have easily had another cycle or 2 per match if they had sorted that out. But that's where I've got them. That's Blizzard. They won the Durham event with 2200, who has been mentioned before. This auto was interesting because I don't know what auto they could have actually
They just made
done.
7 inners, by the way.
Yeah, but they were being fed. It's different than picking them up.
7 inners.
How would they have made 7? What?
They started
Maybe I
with
did.
3 and they were given 3. So what's
Oh,
3 plus 3,
okay.
Brennan?
5. They missed one. But
Yeah, but yeah, no, their auto was very good. The main thing I said was that they were getting stuck on balls a little bit too much for my liking, but I think they were otherwise very, very good. So that's why I've got them there. Their autos in Durham, like, see there, they just like drove over it. And the main thing that I didn't that I wasn't sure about with them was the driving over things and their auto, because they were being fed. I didn't really count that as an actual auto because that wouldn't have been as many as it was, because normally you don't have a balls just being fed to you on a silver platter.
The wonderful thing about 188 is that we didn't have to scout any more of their matches, Brennan and I.
yeah, I know.
True. Yeah, we have too much scouting data for 188. Except I didn't think to use any of it.
Nice.
I
Oh,
scouted
one
them
thing
again.
that's cool. I went through our entire scouting data, for 188 and 2200 because those are the two teams in that event that I was looking, and I added up all of their points they scored from balls. So that's based
Was
on
it
inners and outers.
188?
No,
Oh.
it was much more than that.
2,200?
Not anywhere near that. But Blizzard average 50.7 per match,
Yep.
while Rambetics average 50.6 per match.
Wow. Well, there you go. Well,
So that's fun
that's
fact about those two teams at their event.
thank you, Cobb. Very
Okay.
nice.
Speaking of Evan, who you got
Do we
for
have a
Alright.
district
number
team?
17?
Yes, we do. We have a district team.
Finally.
Woo! We have team 1684, the Chimeras, from somewhere in Michigan. I think the southwest portion, but I could be wrong.
Let me check. Wherever Lapeer is, they're from there.
I don't know. I'm guessing the southwest. I think it's the southwest. You can click on the thing and it'll take you to a map if you want to check. I could be wrong.
It is not the southwest at all.
Cool. Where is it?
It's
Southeast?
like
It's south, right? Am I
no.
just crazy?
Well, it's
Okay.
like I mean,
What if
as
it's
far as
north,
Michigan
northeast?
goes,
It's completely
it's
Oh,
opposite.
cool. I
no,
don't know.
it's like north of Detroit. It's
Yeah,
like a little bit east of Flint.
cool. I don't know who I'm thinking of. Oh, Strike Force. Strike Force is from Southwest Michigan.
Yeah, they're from like mid east.
I'm pretty sure Strike Force. Look that up so I seem either more crazy or less crazy. One of the two.
Chat,
Um,
do the maps.
I think they're from Kalamazoo, which I think is Southwest Michigan. Okay, Chimeras we're talking about. Swerve Drive, quite good. I liked their double collector thing. It makes autonomous easier. It makes driving around has less of an impact in teleop, but it has a pretty big impact and makes autonomous modes easier to do. They had a very good shooter. They had some pretty good autos. They were very good at their events. They looked like the best team at their off-season events, the ones they were at. So the Chimeras are my 17th team and lowest ranked district team on this list because it took a while. And another pattern I did not notice when making the list because I didn't have it color coded. But yeah, they're here.
Apparently, they're both from Lapeer, so.
They're not. No, they're not. 2767 from Kalamazoo.
Oh, okay.
According
Another
to
case of
TBA.
confusing Strike Force and Strike Zone.
Oh,
No, Strike Zone
true.
is from like northern-ish, not super far north, but like northern than most teams.
Strike Zone
Lansing,
and Chimeras are from the same
Wrong. Yeah,
What?
Strike Zone.
city.
So
Oh my
Strike
goodness.
Zone and Chimeras are from the same city, but Strike Force is from
Alright.
Kalamazoo. Wait, no.
Clearly,
Yes,
I know
Strike Force.
nothing. Clearly, I know
Yeah.
nothing about Michigan.
All right.
Alright.
Number 17 for me. I'm just gonna make sure. Yep. Okay. So it's once again another team that we've talked a lot about, and I agree with Danny a lot in their positioning. 36-47. They're gonna be number 17 for me. We've talked a lot about them. Fantastic team. Great robot. Danny.
And okay, this one might be somewhat spicy, I know, but what can I say? I'm in love with their strategy and their driving in addition to their high quality robot and team theme. 2714 Barbecue.
Barbecue.
How does the sheet handle? It can do emojis.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Heck yeah.
Whoa!
The
I-
sheet can do emojis.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
This
But-
sheet is my child.
Yeah.
Alright.
What?
Yeah, since
Okay.
they became the new Rev team in 2019, their robot had high potential in deep space, but sometimes had some consistency issues. But in 2020, they just absolutely knocked it out of the park with a tall robot that was a very consistent score, and I don't remember them ever missing a climb, and they just improved on that performance for Texas Cup, always making the most of their abilities and making sure they were the best partner possible for every single one of their qualification pairings. I remember that Fun released a behind the glass segment with them that frankly had me very impressed at how the whole drive team communicated and got such good results at the event, making their way past several high caliber teams such as 148 and 118.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool beans.
They are a team that was on my short list for sure. That one of the better tall robots, good shooter and that kind of thing. Just narrowly missing out for me. But yeah, fantastic team for sure. Okay, I will go next. And I have team 2200 Robotics. They're up here at 16th. Fantastic shooter. They could like shoot from like anywhere on the field, which is actually crazy. Like the defending them is so hard. They have their limelight mounted high, and at the back of their robots, it's not going to get blocked by defense. The one thing that they hadn't shown, at least in Durham, is the fact that they were not focusing on inner goals at all. They just shot outer goals, and they shot outer goals really, really well. But that, to me, is the thing that kind of dropped them down a little bit lower than on this list than maybe they could have been. It's just because of the inner percentages. They were just going for the outer goal, which credit to them, worked really well. They were absolutely nailing them every time. But yeah.
I know in one match that we scouted for our scouting project, they scored 25 outer goals in a match and no inners. But 25 outers, that's a lot of points.
That's
I mean,
50 points.
right, and that's not even counting auto. That was
Yeah.
just telly up. So
That's
fast
a really
cycling for
impressive.
sure. Very, very fast cycling. And like Brennan said, they have the ability to shoot from many different angles with that turret.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Danny, give us number 16.
All right. Number 16 has a team who was traveled very far this season and has achieved some just fantastic results and consistency. That would be Team 2168, the Aluminum Falcons from Groton, Connecticut. And their machine quality left me stunned when it was first revealed, and when they played, they sure didn't disappoint. They have played at the Battle Cry Saturday events, the Bash at the Beach event, and Chesney Champs. So, and even though sometimes they would miss climb a bit more often than I would like, which is why they're at number 16 instead of like maybe even possibly top 10. Their shooting just consistently left me wowed. And it's always good to see that they are still following the principles outlined in their Drive Like a Falcon training manual, which has set them apart from other teams very consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read that. It's a good read.
No, for sure. I mean, probably a little bit lower than I would have had them, But yeah, they're absolutely phenomenal team. Their inner percentage was from the trench specifically was absolutely amazing. I don't think that there was much better.
Yeah, for sure.
Apparently at Battlecry they replaced a swerve module with an unpowered Omni.
For some
Seems-
reason, this is a commentary on me. For some reason, I thought you were gonna say they replaced the serve module with an unpowered onion. That's just where my brain
What?
went.
Unpowered. Would you prefer
A
it to be
powered onion?
empowered?
What does that even look like?
Let me just take
Yeah.
a Neo and just like
If someone can make an onion drive base, I'll give them $7,
Okay.
and that's a promise. It has to work though.
Define work.
To move a little bit in the general direction you tell it to.
okay, I know what our next project is as
Okay.
a team. Onion
Mm.
drive.
All right,
For $7
Taegen.
US.
Yeah.
Number
In
16.
16th, unironically, is Team 16, Bomb Squad.
Woo!
Unironically,
Epic memes.
it literally like I put them in and I'm like I didn't I just done them in order and then I like dragged the numbers down. I'm like wild. 16 Bomb Squad, they competed at the Arkansas Regional. Makes sense. They're from Arkansas. One thing I really liked about their robot was their ability to be both tall and short, based on their arm that their shooting was on. I quite liked that. I also liked how they used their intake as their control panel mechanism. I thought that was quite swanky of them. Yeah, all things considered, auto accuracy was very good. Their auto was like 7 power cells pretty regularly, which is near where I wanted it to be. Minus that shot that went nowhere. The rest of their shots were quite good in my opinion. They generally use that zone right near that the goal, so didn't have to deal with too much defense while shooting, but it's tactical. And then the climber worked quite well. So yeah, you can see there they fit under the control panel, but they can also lift up based on wherever they are, which I think was really smart. So
Yeah, see, that's something that Bomb Squad and you don't have in common, the ability to be both tall and short, since you can only do one of those things.
I'm frankly from their reveal video, I'm never going to get over how they use their intake to spin
I
the
think
control
it's
panel.
so smart. It's so smart
And
the way
didn't
they
they
do it.
discover that legitimately accidentally?
Probably.
I love that
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah. It's so smart when like why build a whole other mechanism when you can repurpose the one you already have. It's just like again, one of those things that I think some teams like they wouldn't have even tried. So
All right, Evan. Round off 16th
Okay.
place here for us.
This team has something in common with both of two teams that were said something. The actually, there's a couple things in common with Aluminum Falcons, I should say. They traveled quite far, although it was in the on season, not the off season, and they had a very high inner percentage, and that is Wingus and Dingus, 74.98 from New Zealand. Very, very good inner percentage. I mean, the autonomous was, I mean, not outstanding, but I think they made up for it in the teleop where they were just cycling quickly, making these shots, and their teleop cycling was almost as good as anybody else when you factor in their inner percentage. And I mean, they were very, very, very good at that Canadian Pacific Regional in week 1.
yeah, they dominated that event, like, and rightfully so. And I think they would have done very similarly at most other events in week 1 or 2.
Yeah. I would have really loved to see how they had performed at the Hawaii and Silicon Valley regionals, especially Silicon Valley, as like I would have loved to see how they would have gone toe to toe with 254 and 971.
For sure. All right, Danny. Cracking the top 15.
All right, the 15th team I have is the first team from Canada, 188 Blizzard. Like, just watching their very refined, polished cycles, I couldn't help but just be drawn to that robot, and that was actually the inspiration that my team had, like minus the ball, minus the getting stuck on balls sometimes, but like just like how they cycled was actually a great inspiration for my drive team as we approached the Northern Lights Regional, and I think it actually helped us significantly in ranking first and winning.
That's really cool. I like that.
Taegen.
Me? Team 4911, my first P&W team. The Cyber Knights. Chief Delphi might
Taegen,
ask, who are
the Silent Knights?
who are the 4911 Cyber Knights? Well, let me tell you, they knocked it out of the park with their robot. They did compete at the Bordy Recharge off season, but also in 2020 they did week 1 and week 2, so they got 2 plays in and they won both of them with 29-10 in both instances. Auto was very good. They typically ran a thieving auto, stealing from the opponent trench, and then going on to score. You can see here the start of their telly. Just in general, a very good robot, very good shooter, and their intake was quite good as well. I quite liked it. So that's why I've got them with some swerve in my 15th position.
All right, can I go next?
Sure.
In my 15th spot, I also have Team 4911, the Cyberknights.
Let's
Ooh.
go! That's like a first.
Yeah, that's the first thing we've had is 2 teams in the same team in 2 different positions of the same. Nope,
Same
the
team in
same
the same
team in the
spot
same
for 2
position for
people.
2 different people. However, I was unimpressed by their Bordy Recharge performance. I thought what they really shone was West Valley. Their West Valley event, they were cycling better than. I mean, at that event, I'm not going to say this extends to other events necessarily, but at that event, you could make a debate between them and 2910 at the West Valley event. Now, I think I still would have picked 2910, but the debate could have been made at the West Valley event. 4911 was just so smooth with their drive base and their shooting that they have to be on pretty high on this list. And also the first team from my home region for me. So.
All right, number.
Your 15th? Your 15th pick, Brennan?
Yes, is going to be 3538, who we already talked about. Their
Wow.
2020 robot is the one that I have here. Their 2021 had obviously the potential to be a bit higher, though, well, depending on which one you're talking about, I guess. But all of them have obviously had the potential to be a bit higher, but the time in the end wasn't there. But still, their 2020 robot was very, very successful. Won an event, good trench shooter. One of the things that really impressed me about their robot specifically was their intake and just how well they were able to pick up balls like instantaneously. Just owning those game pieces is a big deal for me. So they bump up to the 15th slot here.
Nice.
Let's go back to Evan.
Oh, okay. I have a team from the central eastern part of Michigan. This one's right.
I'm
5460.
so proud of you.
5460 Strike Zone. Had a very, very good shooter at Chasey Champs when it was on, and they had some problems with their collector, but that to me seemed a little bit fluky. I mean, it was mechanical damage done by a hit that I think is something that it was more partially, it could have been designed better, but a lot of it was just kind of bad luck. And I think the shooter was very, very good. It was very fast, very smooth, very
Smashing.
I don't know.
What?
Smashing, yeah. Striking. That's the word I was looking for. Striking, because it's in their name. But I couldn't remember what it was. Okay. Very striking. It was a good shooter, good team, good job in Michigan for 5460. So I mean I say good, yeah. So yeah, their Chizzy Champ spot was good. I thought it was better at Chizzy Champs than it was at their other off-season events. I think they'd won. That was pretty good, but generally their Michigan off-seasons were not as strong as they were at Chizzy Champs. But yeah, good shooter. 5460. That's my team here.
Okay.
Nice.
Taegen.
I have a team that's been mentioned before on Danny's list. Making their appearance on mine is the Chimeras 1684.
Not how it's pronounced.
Chimera. The Chimeras.
Alternatively known as the Chimichangas.
Chimichangas,
Catches
the
up a bit, yeah.
Chimeras, the Camaros, I don't know. But what I really liked about them was the auto from them. Because of their double intakes, they were really able to like clean up the rendezvous zone in autonomous with their double intakes. So I like that from them. And I think more time could have been even better for me. I've got oh, did my mic just die?
No, you're good.
Everyone's
Good
saying
for
the
me, at
mic
least. I don't know.
I personally can hear it, but
I don't know.
Maybe cut out.
Maybe,
Someone
I don't
turn on
know.
the screen.
1684.
F all
Oh,
mics.
F all mics. Oh, the stream.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh, it's just choppy. The audio in the stream is
I
choppy.
really hate to see it.
One moment. Oh,
Oh,
we're
it's fine
now.
now?
Oh, Jeff is
Okay.
I don't know what
Thanks,
happened.
Jeff.
Thanks for the status update. We appreciate it.
Let us know if it gets terrible.
Please.
lettuce. Get it? Because that's a
Lettuce?
vegetable.
Lettuce is a vegetable. I'm so
What?
like
What does that even mean?
What? Fun fact: there is a lettuce club on my campus.
Awesome.
Like
is it like the Vegans Association?
No, it's just a club dedicated to lettuce.
That's cool. I can appreciate
I would
that
join
on
a club
spiritual
dedicated
level.
to goat cheese. Anyways, Chimeras. That's my my 14th theme.
Poor Michigan teams from Taegen.
So far.
Yeah.
So far.
All right.
Yeah. There may
I
or may
got
not
next.
be more. We'll see.
New team on the list.
Ooh.
I think. I'm pretty sure. 39-37 breakaway. Up in the 14th spot. If I remember correctly, also a very good trench shooter. Just again, the thing that really separated them for me was their ability to make those shots, even though they ranked a little bit low and actually ended up losing their event to 16. I thought that they were a super strong robot that clearly knew what they were doing and drove really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they did very well. They were one of my teams that were just on my cutoff, but I think they were again one of those teams like oh geez, who was it? The one we were talking about earlier, where their ranking might be better than where they ranked at their event. They're one of those teams.
51-72.
Yeah.
It's one of those where ranking 17 was definitely unrepresentative of their robot's abilities at their event.
All right. Yep. It's possible I would have put them on my list. I did not put them on my list, but it's possible I would have if the matches I watched were not the one which they were reduced to D. But you know, that's my bad.
It'd be like that.
Mm-hmm. I knew they were good, but there were 74 other teams on my shortlist. So
there's so many good teams in this range, so it's hard.
Mhm.
All right, Danny.
All right, time for my pick, which I have not seen on the list yet, but you know, they definitely have quite a reputation, and trust me, they can rock it like rocket fuel. 118 Robonaut, and just what I really liked about their robot was its very high potential, and I really think it could have been even close to like number one had they worked out some of their issues. But I do think that they had some very good moments over the course of the match. I mean, they alongside 148 got the very first stage 3 activation in the world, and yeah, just and my favorite part about 118's 2020-21 season is that they named their robot Mobius, and at the 2020 championship level award ceremony, their mentor Lucian Junkin received the Woody Flowers Award, which is where the Mobius is awarded to.
Yeah.
So I found that just to be a fantastic coincidence.
This is some really
No,
good footage of them, unfortunately.
that's intentional. That
Yeah.
was part of the strategy.
No, I know they were feeding, but I'm like, just watching it without context, it's very entertaining.
The
Interesting.
self-feed strat.
I'd be surprised if anybody else didn't have them on their list. So
Mhm.
definitely, I think the lowest so far that we'll see from them.
I think
Thus
Okay,
that is
far, yeah.
likely the case.
I'll go again here. And the team that beat the team on the list that I just talked about, 16, Bomb Squad, is going to be my next one on 13th place. Always really, really good at Swerve. Just one of those teams that is perennially up there in the conversation in terms of competitiveness. And yeah, absolutely fantastic team. Taegen.
How many wheels does their robot have, Brennan?
A lot.
Okay, you know the question that I'm actually asking. How many wheels does their drive base have?
I don't know what you're asking.
Didn't you just
4?
say like they do
4?
3?
No, that was different. That was
That yeah, that
different.
was a lot. That was many
Yeah,
years ago.
different season.
Oh, did a 3-wheel drive serve? I thought you
No.
meant like this year, and I'm
No,
like,
no, no,
oh,
Fun
well, that's
fact:
lame.
my
That
old
just
team made
ruins
a
my whole joke.
3-wheel Swerve and is sitting in the shed and has been for several years.
Woo! I thought they did it this year, and I thought that was gonna be like a really good reference, and I thought it was gonna go over so well.
This is
Wah,
unfortunate.
wah, wah, wah.
Unlucky.
Well, I
Unlucky.
guess while we're on the topic, I should say 16 is also my number 13 team. So Brendan and
Hey.
I finally agreeing on something, I guess.
Woo!
I mean, for presumably similar reasons to Brennan. Very agile, very mobile, and could get our own defense quite well, and just good at shooting. They
Mhm.
didn't miss a lot of shots. Well, in their actual matches, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were mostly a close shooter, but I mean, they were quite good at it. So, good robot, good design, good quality, good blue banner that they got at their event. With the full on Scorch, that event, I should say, which was kind of fun.
Yeah. All right, Taegen.
Yes, that's me. Going back to Texas, y'all. 3310 Black Hawk
Oh
Robotics.
my.
Never do that again.
Yeah, don't.
Well, I've got them significantly higher than Brennan does, but I put them there because their performance at Texas Cup was just phenomenal. I think that that robot would have done some really great things had we seen it in season. They're very impressive for their autonomous modes, and on my initial list I had them criminally low, but their 8-ball auto shot them all the way up to the 12th spot for me. I mean 13th spot. The 13th spot for me. Sorry, the overlay that I'm looking at just got really blurry, so I couldn't read where they were anymore. Alrighty. So Danny.
All right. Team I had has already, whom I have at 13, has already been mentioned before, but it can't hurt to mention them again. That would be Team 1619 Upper Creek Robotics out of Colorado. They're, I will agree with I'll agree with what Evan said and say that their performance at Chesney Champs was significantly better than what I had seen at Great Northern in 2020. I do think that they had that they were underpicked for how well they were doing, and I just wish I got to see a bit more of a consistent climb out of them. But their shooting was absolutely top tier, especially their autonomous, and yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, number 12. We're getting to the top.
Woo!
Let's start with Evan.
Okay. My
Maybe we'll
12th
tag
ranked
team here.
team, I found out, I guess, they also ranked 12th at their regional, 5172 Gators. Very, very excellent cycling, very excellent shooting. That amazingly efficient and quick climb, not crime, climb. Although it was
The
criminal,
climb,
it
it
was
was
almost criminal how fast it was, breaking all those speed limits. I mean, oftentimes you see them climbing at there are a couple of instances of like 5 seconds, and that just goes whoop whoop. It's so quick how that climber is, and they shot very well. They were very good, and I think if they played that regional 10 times, they would have won it 9 times. Just got a little unlucky during that event, but very, very strong performance for them, and I mean, excellent team. So that's my second Minnesota team representing Danny's old region.
Okay. I got my team. They won their event, and they're also one of the teams that is usually up at the top here. It's going to be 987 High Rollers in 12th place for me. As we take a look at them, they had a pretty unique turret, I guess, with the side shooters instead of top and bottom. But really strong autonomous, really great shooter as per usual. They're kings of getting their vision to work properly and just like line up so well, and they really showed how strong they were as a team here.
I mean, they do sell the limelight, so I would
Yeah.
assume that vision is among their strong suits.
You make a good point. You do. I agree that 987 had a very strong year, and I would not be surprised if we hear more about them a little later.
Yeah, Brennan definitely not the only one to put 987 on the list. I think
No,
that's safe
I don't think he will be. No.
All right, Taegen.
This will be the. I'm trying to figure out. This will be the last person to put 1619 on their list in the 12th spot. So, I mean, you've heard a ton about them already. So I don't have much more new to tell you, but 1619 will be in my 12th spot.
Great team. Danny.
All right, it looks like I'm kind of switching positions with Taegen here, except I'm not going to try and do that absolutely horrendous attempt at a southern accent. 3310 Blackhawk Robotics.
Yeehaw!
Just
band.
just looking at the improvement between their outing at the Week 1 Greenville District event in 2020 and the Texas Cup was just something excellent to be considered as they tuned their shot and their climb a lot more, and they put on a fantastic show, really.
Yeah, for sure. Really, really solid team. Okay. Let's go to Taegen again.
Buzz, buzz, it's Bumblebee.
Ooh.
Bumbleb.
Bumbleb in 11th place, 33-39.
First Israeli team.
First Israeli team so far, and boy, oh boy, was their robot just incredible. I mean, I think they still have the unofficial, the record, high score record.
They
do. For both like unpenalized and like penalized obviously doesn't count, but at the Jerusalem off season, their robot spectacular. Their auto was great. You see them working with Orbit right now, who I expect we'll hear about later. But the two of them, they had their roles and they just did it so spectacularly during it. I think they will. I mean, obviously they're one of the strongest teams in Israel, and rightfully so with this robot, which has swerve. So I think that's a new thing for them as well.
Yeah, just really good shooter for sure.
Yep.
Great package overall. Danny.
All right. So for my number 11 team, I have a team who for some reason who people had thought it was like a down year for them, but frankly, I was just as impressed with their effectiveness as I had in past years. That would be Team 971, Spartan Robotics. I especially enjoyed their performance at the Madtown Throwdown, and frankly think they've been a bit slept on. Like, you see their robot, and you think, oh, that's more simple than it has been previous years, but just like how they nailed their autonomous, how they nailed their teleop shots, just their programming continues to be absolutely top notch, even as everyone is getting better.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't watch Madtown. I wonder if that would have changed my perspective on them and where they are on my list.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that the VOD was available. I was unable to find it, so I only maybe watched 5 to 10 matches of that event, and I would have loved to have seen more of 971 and really all the other top teams of that event. So
Okay, Evan. Team
all
just
right,
missing
my
out on your top 10.
team just missing out of my top 10 is Team 118 Robonauts. Fast robot, good shooter. Had a little bit of issues at the Texas Cup. They also are infamous for that holding too many power cells thing, which I think would have gotten called on them a couple times at the next event, and they would have been like, "All right, time to stop doing this," and then they would have stopped, or maybe they would have stopped immediately. I don't know. I'm not really penalizing them for that.
Okay, but as
that
a
is
ref,
noted.
it's not really fair to just single them out on a thing that I've seen so many teams do.
I'm
Oh,
not saying
yeah.
they're the only team that did it. I'm saying people talk about them doing it a lot.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I'm saying
that's
I'm not holding it against them. But they had a good shooter. They had a little bit of issues at Texas Cup, but they still looked like one of the top teams there. And that swerve drive quite good, and they could shoot very, very quickly, like rapid fire, one of the quickest like shots in the West.
Are they West?
I mean, when people
I
say
guess,
the West, like the Wild West, they usually referring to Texas
Texas,
around there.
yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
isn't
what I was
that more like,
referencing.
isn't it meant like the Wild South? Like, realistically, there's so much more West. Like, Texas should be
Well,
the Wild South.
yeah, but that era, there wasn't a lot of west of Texas that was inhabited by the people that would call it that. It was really west of the East Coast
Ah, yes. The
because the East Coast was
West
colonized
East.
first.
All right. I am on the same wavelength as Taegen here. I also have Bumblebee here, just outside the top 10. Fantastic team, amazing swerve drive, amazing shooting. They've always been one of the stronger teams in Israel, and seeing what I would probably consider their best robot yet, even after 2019, where they were very successful as well. Really excited to see what's in the store for the future of this team here. Okay, Danny, let's go to you. Top 10.
all right. For my number 10 team, I gotta go for the homer pick here, and I do think that results were not kind to them. 51-72 Gators, and just the amount of the barrage of shots they would make from the trench run into the inner and outer goals, and their last second climb with their linkage mechanism made made it an extremely fun robot to watch. And I was rooting for 51-72 to make their way into the top 8 for the entire time that I was watching that event. And in seasons past, they did not have a practice robot. So I think in the 2020 season, they would have honestly become one of, if not the very best team at the Detroit Championship. And I really wish I could have seen them compete at some of the Minnesota off seasons, but alas.
Yeah. So I think all of us
Alas.
have this team on
Yep.
the list, and
Yep.
you've got them the highest. It's good.
I gotta have that Minnesota bias.
Minnesota
they're so
Pride.
good.
They were really good.
They're so
Yeah.
good. They're that team that I had absolutely never heard of going 2016 championships, and I started hearing about them, and they're a team I think that is just generally consistently underrated. And speaking of
Yeah.
5172 and crime, I think it's criminal how underrated they are.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
I mean, they're a team that I think should always be in the like. If you're just talking about top teams in first, they should absolutely always be in the conversation. And it's just a team that people I think just skips on people's minds because they play in these Minnesota events that are just so large and oftentimes overshadowed by other events because there isn't necessarily the depth there that you see in other regions. And
Mhm.
the fact
The
is,
biggest in the
5172 is so good.
the biggest in the tagline, biggest best run regionals in the world is definitely not a joke.
I would love
Mhm.
to go to one just because of how large they are and to see the team depth. I think it would be a lot of fun to volunteer at one of those events.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they're
Go-
the second team that all of us have on our list. Them and 1619 are now like four across the board.
Mhm.
Okay. My 10th, 1678 Citrus Circuits. They're going to be my number 10. Really, really strong team. Think that in terms of their performance, I think that their second robot was slightly better. Their 2021 one that they went to Chesney with and then also went to Madtown with, which they saw was really, really effective. Fantastic team. Just squeaking into the top 10. You know, what else can you say? They're one of the teams that has the longest Einstein streak or the longest Einstein streak now, I think.
I
Yep.
think so, yeah.
Undeniably a contender every single year, and the Swerve transition to that was really impressive. Think that there's still, more to go there for the teams that are above them, but they were really, really, really strong.
I think that's low, but that's okay.
Well, let's hear about your 10th here.
My 10th is 4414.
Ooh, you're talking about a low
All right.
team.
Yeah, I think that's
I
pretty
don't
low.
know. Okay, maybe it's all California. I think 4414. I think they performed better at I think it was Beach Blitz than they did at Chesney, in my opinion. But that little small robot does very well on the field and deserves some credit for that. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. It's a good robot. Don't get me wrong. I quite like it, and it's small size, but I think there's just some consistency that they didn't have. That, or maybe I just got unlucky and watched some matches of theirs where they didn't perform amazingly. Maybe I just got unlucky. But still, like I had them doing like 7 cycles a match pretty regularly, which is pretty top notch. I mean, honestly, like once you hit top 10, it's all like for me, these top 10 are all like debatable for the most part. They did face pretty heavy defense thanks to the 4499 machine on the number 1 seed at Chesney, but still very good performance from them.
Dang. Okay. Seeing High Tide
Okay.
for the first time. Evan, are you on the High Tide
My
train?
number 10. I am on the high tide train, but not at the 10th position. I am on the high tide train later on. But I am on the Bumbleb train at 10. Bumblebee from Israel. I mean, as I said, couple round or last round by Taegen and Brennan. They shot well, they cycled well, and they complemented Orbit well, which I think with a team as good as Orbit, that's a skill that's valuable in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very, very good, and especially in that like 370 point scoring matches, like 340 top penalties. It's just absurd how good they are. And this could be me misremembering, but I think they only had like one fewer cycle than Orbit did in that match, which
Mhm.
Yep.
is very, very impressive. Like they're just so good. I mean, really, with them in Orbit, Israel, I think I'm. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say Orbit's also in that top 10. So Israel, 2 teams cracking the top 10.
Nice.
Okay, number 9 for me. We've already talked about them quite a bit. It's going to be 188 for me. Just inside that top 10. really, really good shooter, really, really good driving, really, really good intake. Yes, they drove over balls and occasionally got stuck. They had good autos as well, and for me, just their shooting accuracy was the thing that put them above other teams for me. It's just the inner percentage, um, much higher than a lot of the teams that were below them.
Anyone else have 188 in their 9th position?
Well, Evan, you're up next.
All right, my 9th position, I have a team that I guess you can look at Brennan's list and shift up a little bit. I have 1678. However, differing from Brennan, I was slightly more impressed from the 2020 robot. They definitely they had higher scoring matches. However, it is hard. I know it's hard to have pop off matches when you're competing at Chizzy Champs because of just how many good teams are there as well. But they got defended more at their first event in 2020, and they scored higher on average with the data that I have. So I'm saying the 2020 robot impressed me a little bit more, but the 2021 robot was very good too, and that is why they're at my number 9 position.
I will counteract Evan and Ben, say that 1678 is also at my number 9 position, but I personally was a bit more impressed with their 2021 robot for the first time ever, popping Swerve from one of these teams after their 2020 season ended with the frankly heartbreaking incident where they had flown all the way out to St. Louis just for the event to get canceled at the drivers' meeting.
Yeah.
They came back in full force with their spirits full, and frankly just kick butt out there, even if a 4th overall pick and semifinalist doesn't exactly show the 1678 we are all used to. They quickly rounded into form with bringing 4 robots to Madtown Throwdown.
Yep.
If their D robot had not gotten eliminated in quarterfinals, Citrus would have played one of their robots in every single elimination set, which I find really funny.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, Taegen. Number 9.
Number 9, 2910. Jack
Oh
in the
my.
Bot.
What? You got all the small robots down low.
I love my small robots, but yeah, that's where I've got 2910. Great little robot. Not the matches I watched, they had a good auto, good accuracy, good shooting. Just again, like for me, the matches I was watching, they were all very much like very similar cycles, and 4414 and them for me, they were pretty much on par with one another, so I put them pretty much together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I had them where they were, but their swerve I think is what put them above 4414 for me. They've been doing it for a while, obviously, but still just that notch above. Very good robot. 9th is nothing to be disappointed by. Please don't be upset, 2910, if you're watching this. I just like it's still very something you should be very proud of.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, they're good. They're a good team.
They are.
They move quickly and shoot well. 2 very important parts of this
They
game.
shoot fast and they shoot good.
Yeah,
All right.
I would have said it with proper grammar, but
Evan.
Nah.
Oh, my number, what
Number
is this?
8.
9? 8.
8.
Okay. My number 8 pick is Team 3310, Blackhawk Robotics. I'm the highest of anybody here, evidently. Trench. Very, very good trench shooter. I mean, they were nailing these shots from the trench throughout all of Texas Cup. They looked like one of the top 2 teams there, and they ended up partnering with another team that was very good. But, I mean, I don't know. I think Brennan's sleeping on him a little bit here. But very, very good shooter, very solid climber, consistent, very sturdy robot as well. Had some. That's the thing that's worth noting. I mean, obviously the Texas Cup performance was better than the 2020 performance, but I mean, they looked very good at the Texas Cup. They're one of the teams that were like, all right, 33-10, we see it. And they're a team that's, I mean, maybe a little bit slept on in the Texas region, just because when everybody thinks of Texas, they immediately think 148, 118. But like, I would have no trouble saying you're forgetting 33-10. I mean, maybe not quite as good, but very, very close at the
Yeah.
very least.
Yeah, I think Brennan has them terribly low.
I think they're too low on Brennan's list. As much as I like 1425 being an alma mater of them, or being an alum of them, I think it's kind of insane having Blackhawk below.
Maybe it's the anti-alum bias.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, for me, those two teams, the difference was just the climber. That's the thing that separated
Right.
them for me. Okay, Danny.
All right. I apparently have this team the highest of any of y'all, but this team has made it 4 times. 33-39 Bumblebee. And
Fair.
I don't know, they may not have been like the primary star of their alliance, but they always got the job done and were always willing to just adjust on the fly, and are just one of the most consistent teams in the country of Israel. So
This is true.
yeah, a lot of stuff's already been said, so I'll keep it short.
Okay. I'll go with my number 8. It's gonna be 118 Robonauts. 8th, very strong shooter, as we've already talked about. You know, slightly above. I had them very close to Citrus and 188. The thing that really separated them for me is the fact that their events, the control panel was a thing, and I think that while the control panel may seem a little bit lame, it takes away some of the stats of this team. So I kind of artificially bumped them up because they were doing that control panel often. Even though that earns a lot of points, a lot of team, or I think a lot of the flash of watching a team is going to come from shooting, and they had to do some of that. So bump them up
Yeah,
a
I
little bit.
did. I did something similar. Anytime I saw a team do the control panel, I'd give them like a cycle, basically, or something like that, depending on how long it took them to do it. I agree with that idea. I put 2168 in my 8th spot. Millennium, or not Millennium, Aluminum Falcons, other Falcons. It's late, okay? But that's who I have in my 8th spot. Like Danny mentioned earlier, great robot. I was more impressed with their 2020 performance than their performance at Chesney. So that's what I had on there, because they were doing 7 cycles week 2, which I thought was really impressive. And so that's why I've got them in the 8th spot.
Killing it. Danny, number 7.
All right, I'm surprised to see I'm the only person who's on this team's hype train, but after watching their performance at Chesney, I really do feel like even with their technical issues, they really exemplified the areas which they always seem to prioritize. That would be Team 254. In addition to their sky high potential, I find that they always just, especially in their later matches, they'd always get the job done. It it may not have been the 254 you'd expect, but after having been not allowed to meet for as long as they did, they still put on quite the show. And
For sure. All right, Taegen, number 7.
118.
Okay.
There we go. Rounding it out.
118 now taking the first overall temporarily, of course, because we're going to have a whole bunch of few teams
Yep.
probably at the very end. But yeah, we've already talked a lot about them. Fantastic Texas team.
Good stuff.
Evan.
Oh, I have Team 2168 Aluminum Falcons at number 7. They're good at robots.
Dang
They
right.
had a very, very good. Good inner goal percentage, good cycling time, good climb. They were not. I don't think at any individual one of those were they top 10, but they were top 25. I think at every single one of those. They were very well rounded. They had a good autonomous period, and they really showed off in multiple situations, going down to Chizzy Champs and really showing showing with some New England flair that event. So.
I agree.
Oh wow.
2168 just absolutely kicked it out of the park for me in Chesney. While their ratio or like how many cycles they may be doing isn't quite as high maybe as some of the others. The thing that really impressed me, like I mentioned earlier, is the inner percentage specifically from the trench was probably the highest that I saw of pretty much every team. Most teams that were getting higher inner percentages were shooting from other locations. So the fact that they were able to pull that off, you know, just absolutely phenomenal team from my perspective, and well deserving of that seventh spot, and it gets really competitive at the top. So
Yep. Absolutely.
all right, just missing out on top 5. Taegen, who do you have?
I have team 4613 in the 6th
Whoa.
spot.
That is very spicy.
Okay, let's hear this.
I knew it was spicy when I saw you go, whoa, and it was in 22nd at conference. But I have 4613 here because of their, I counted a 9-ball autonomous at Southern Cross. About on par with people in Teleop, a little bit lower, but I've really ranked the buddy climb very high, clearly in there, and mostly because it also worked. It wasn't just one of those, oh, we have a buddy climb. Like it was functional in matches. Finals 1 of Southern Cross, you can see it in action there. And honestly, like their teleop was pretty standard, and then they have to take extra time to go line up because then someone has to go drive on top of their robot. And I was quite impressed with their autonomous mode as well. So I have them in 6th, which I know is spicy, and I've been waiting for that for quite a while. So
It's definitely spicy. I don't think it's completely undefendable or anything. They
yeah,
definitely have elements that are very, very strong. Autonomous, obviously, one of the top. Then that buddy climb is something that's very unique to them and was
yes,
pretty like clean. It was very smooth.
yes,
Um, and I mean that's something that if you rate highly, you rate highly, and
yeah, and
is
I think it was
something that
also very
is
smart
unique
for
to
their
them.
region. Australia, obviously not the strongest region in
Right.
FRC. And so I think it was totally reasonable of them to expect that there wouldn't be a lot of climbers and recognize that strategically it's something they would need to succeed and then carry over. So you
Yeah,
could scrub through to
definitely.
see it in action, and
It's,
it's really clean how it works.
especially the way they do it on the center of that bar.
Yep. Oh,
It
they're
Mhm.
like nearly guarantees that ranking point, which is
Yeah.
gonna. I mean,
well. That's
in a
the thing
region like
too.
Australia, it's gonna be not super easy to get that ranking point, and
That and it's just
they're gonna rank first at any Australian.
exactly. It's that, and it's also like realistically, when I did the math, an extra climb and balance. That's like guaranteeing the balance is 15 points that you may or may not get, but that's 20 points. So that's basically 2 cycles in the region, and so if you put that on, then they're up there as far as teleop numbers go as well with that auto. So that's why I put them where I did. If they could scrub through faster through the match, you could see the buddy climb in action. But
Is it
it's
in the
okay because the
finals?
second you scrub, it'll
Oh,
happen.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Let's
you can see there, like they climb at 18 seconds. It's not like they're going there at 30 or anything, and it's just so clean the way that it goes. And like you see here, 60-35. They're not even like super lined up, and the way that they go up, it's just easy,
Mhm.
breezy, beautiful. Cover girl,
not sponsored.
Okay, not
not
sponsored
sponsored.
Okay. Evan.
yet. Oh, My number 6 team is something that Brennan put lower than I assume the rest of us did, unless one of you didn't put them on, which would be very surprising. 987 High Rollers. They were excellent at the event in Los Angeles that they attended. And something that when I did my data collection, something I should say, every single team on my list, I watched at least 5 matches and collected data from. And every single team on my short list of 75 teams, I did that for at least 2 matches, meaning I had a lot of late nights recently. But this team was tied for second in terms of points per match in the world from the match that I saw. Now they aren't quite as high due to like a couple things like defense was played on them, like their how I guess long ago it is. I mean, sort of. They didn't play against necessarily top competition, but they had a very very strong showing when in at their event in Los Angeles. So yeah, I think top 6 for High Rollers.
Interesting.
Nice. Is Brennan like pausing because he's
I'm
rearranging
just
his words?
looking because I don't know who Evan left out of my top 6. I don't know. Interesting.
You'll find out. Be patient and you'll find out.
All right, 6.
Danny.
6 for me.
Okay, just kidding. Sorry, Danny.
2910. Small, zoomy boy, fantastic robot, super good at getting around defense, so high acceleration, rapid shooting. They weren't afraid to do shots at the last possible second when they were at Chesney and they weren't climbing. They were willing to do that. They can squeeze in at the end any place for climbing. Absolutely fantastic team. The only thing that for me put them down a little bit is just how precise their intake had to be to pick up a ball. For me, that messed up a couple of their autos sometimes and just slowed them down a little bit from these top 5 teams, which, I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal. So it's really splitting hairs here. But yeah, for me, there are 6 overall. Danny.
So the team I have as my number 6 is one that I've been a fan of for quite a long time, and after a truly embarrassing incident during qualification rounds at their first event, they turned things around for the finite recharge event and won in convincing fashion, which would be Team 2767 Strike Force.
Oh, I
They're-
typoed. There we go.
Their swerve is well refined. They can both go through the trench and over the bumps, and while they had some issues with their climber, which I think prevented them from being a bit higher on my list, their shooting was frankly just stunning. It's 20. Yeah. So, all right, now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I was surprised when Taegen had them this low. I
Sorry.
wonder if Evan doesn't have them on his list because I think they're the most likely team that's not left on his list. So that's interesting. But yeah, I agree with you, Danny. They were absolutely phenomenal when they were on. And I kind of had to do a bit more digging there. Which, speaking of, they are my 5th team. So I'll just slot
Maybe
them
that's
in
why I
here.
had them so low. I just didn't get the right matches. Could have been it.
Yeah, I mean, them specifically at the finals of the Finite Recharge, just absolutely killing it. Their autonomous mode, they were like literally stealing from the other alliance in auto, like the rendezvous zone, like grabbing balls from there and shooting from within the rendezvous zone. Just absolutely fantastic. And when they were working, they were at that level that they could have been, even higher. The only thing that separated them from me is the fact that they had occasional struggles, and that's what dropped them down a little bit lower. All right, Evan. Number 5.
All right. Number 5 is 2910 Jack in the Box. Same reasons as Brennan said earlier. Small, speedy, good shooter, good climber. I mean, very consistent, very fast, very agile, very good robot.
Sounds good.
Taegen.
I have Citrus.
Ooh, okay.
Like I said, I think they did quite a good job in 2020 in particular. Sorry, I dropped the thing I was fidgeting with, and now I want to find it, but whatever. So I quite liked their robot. I think their 2020 performance was a little stronger, but their 2021 was also equally as good, and they came back with a vengeance after, like Danny mentioned, being told, okay, have fun, go home, don't get sick on your in St. Louis. So that's why I've got them. I mean, for the reasons we've talked about earlier, I've got them in the 5th spot, so a little higher.
All right, Danny. Number 5.
All right, this is the first time this team has been mentioned in this episode
Wow.
so far, at least
Oh, okay.
as far as I can tell, and that would be Team 148, the Robo Wranglers. And this is the first time since Tumbleweed, I think, that they ran Swerve, and they absolutely dominated the Greenville event. Personally, I was more impressed by their 2020 bot, although their 2021 campaigns with 9889 Mad, that was the Madtown theme, was definitely nothing to sneeze at either. Yeah,
The
just
blue robot. Yep.
yeah, their intake was top notch. Their maneuvering around the field is fantastic. They had a lot of action in getting the first stage 3 in the world. And yeah, they had an absolutely fantastic and high quality robot.
Okay. Top 4. Taegen. Tell us what you got.
987.
987.
You've heard a fair bit about them already. High rollers. They are high on my list. Their robot has some rollers on it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
And they scored high.
And they scored high. They're high on my list. They're rolling up to the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll
Okay.
be here all night.
Evan.
All right. My number 4 team is 9889 Robo Wranglers 2, so 148. I was more impressed by that robot than I was by 148's on-season robot, just due to the sheer fluidity of that robot, and that although they were entirely pretty much a close shooter, the speed at which they did it was so fast and so accurate that I put them here above other teams that are also very good.
Okay. Number 4 for me. 4414 High Tide. Fantastic small robot. Number 4 on my list. Great inner percentage. Fantastic autonomouses.
What is the plural of autonomous?
Autonomi.
Autonomi?
Technically, it's autonomous, period, because autonomous isn't a noun.
Autonomouses?
But
fantastic.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, for me, just super, super reliable little robot. I thought that their Beach Blitz modification for not getting jammed as much with their ball hopper thing helped their team out a lot. And yeah, I mean, they are right up there. The only thing that had me a little bit lower than the other 3 teams is specifically the vision being blocked because it's such a small robot, so low. Hard for them to get around that, and they weren't really ever doing any of the close shots. which I thought is probably the best answer for like vision blockers or something like that if you are having issues with that. So 4th spot for me. Danny.
4th spot for me goes to Team 2910, Jack in the Box. Even it's not many teams that can not have a functioning climber for at least the first half of an event and still be in contention for first overall pick, and it wouldn't even be a bad pick. Like, this team accounts for the Magnus effect, which in their code, which
I'm sorry,
blew
the
my
what?
mind. The Magnus effect. It's
Rotating
basically
spheres spin in like don't go straight.
yeah,
Oh,
like
okay. Oh, okay. I thought
we're talking
okay.
like air effect. Just their autonomous, their teleop shooting was just top tier and remained that way throughout, frankly, all of 2020 and 2021, although I was more impressed with their 2021 performance.
Yeah, one of the things that also impressed me about 2910 is their paths to the loading station were actually pre-coded as well, or well, not pre-coded, but they would generate a path to go there based off of the vision
Yeah.
target, so that they were lined up properly at the right distance. And it's just one of the like a whole bunch of small things that go into that robot that really make it how amazing it is.
Absolutely. It's a good robot. And that makes it now we've all got them on our list as well.
And they have the current number 1 overall. But I think there's going to
Ooh.
be some teams here that are going to pass that, but very
Spooky.
strong. Okay, Taegen, number 3.
All black everything 148 sits on the bronze medal position on my list. Again, their performance at Texas Cup was phenomenal, but also their performance in season 2020, just chef's kiss. It was so good to watch, and their accuracy was pretty damn impressive. Their auto as well was one of the things that I really liked about them. It was very consistent, and I think given more time would have been I wouldn't have been surprised to see like a 12 ball auto or something from the end by them. Like they had a bunch of different options, and they were all very splendid.
All right, Evan, number 3.
The number 3 team is Team 4414, High Tide. They are fast. I mean, literally, it's basically the exact same story as 2910, except I think they're slightly better. And they showed it. I mean, they just played slightly better. Got about half a cycle more per match than 2910 average. Well, a little less than that, but pretty close. I mean, just really good shooter, really good navigator, and just good team. Number 3.
Danny.
I have the same one as Evan, 44-14 High Tide. Between their 2020 campaign where they ended up getting tipped over in a match that would have decided whether or not they were number 1 seed, and then getting eliminated in quarterfinals, and then their constant iterations leading up to Beach Blitz, I would say this team knows about rolling down in the deep, but they just had it completely down by Beach Blitz. Like, they did have some issues with vision blocking defense, but they managed to address that in very good ways, consistently achieving the ball power cell ranking point.
Yeah.
And even though they stayed competitive, they knew how to have fun and keep within the rules. Just a top tier team.
Okay, I think everybody has the same top 2 teams here so far.
But who is your third?
But I do not have the same top 2 teams. My second team or third team is going to be 973. Absolutely phenomenal team. Obviously, they won the Chesney Champs as the first overall pick with another team, which I'm sure is going to be on everybody's list, possibly all in the same place. But yeah, phenomenally driven robot, really, really accurate shooter, always able to line up really quickly. For me, the only thing that dropped them below the other two teams that are on this list are specifically just like variety of shot positions, and then um, autos are another big differentiator. 973, not that they had bad autos, it's just the other two teams had better autos, in my opinion, that are above on the list, and I think that's a big separator for that kind of thing. And also the maneuverability of these two teams that are above them on the list is another thing that just edges them out a little bit. But 973, absolutely fantastic robot.
I think it goes to show too that 973, who I will spoil, is second on my list, is tall and yet is still so incredibly versatile. You know, a lot of teams would think, oh, you have to be short to be able to navigate around the field, but 973 proved that that was not the case.
And your number one pick it's going to be really obvious.
My number one pick, I don't know. I think 1690 Orbit has got to be the top team on my list. They just were incredible at Chesy. They were incredible in Israel, like to begin with, from week one. And each event they got better and better and better. And after 6 events, that robot didn't look like it was getting tired. It was durable. It was improving constantly, and I'm just so impressed with them. They are my number one for the Infinite Recharge seasons.
I have to agree with Tagen's number 1 and 2. I have to say that actually watching matches, the positions were closer than I really would have thought. Just 973 is the exemplar of often of just choosing a simple concept and just coding, building, and driving the hell out of it until it's like picture perfect. Like
Absolutely.
they have what, 3 world championships now, 2 of which as number 1 seed and captain, and those were no fluke. And Orbit, when I saw their robot, I was extremely impressed, and they never managed to disappoint.
They
Even
never faltered. Their reliability was
Mm-hmm.
insane.
yeah, like even with the pop up hood that I know my team couldn't execute. Not to mention the swerve was just always awe inspiring. It definitely made watching the being up all night watching the Israel competitions very worth it.
True. Otherwise, yeah, no, I get that. I get that completely. Is Evan gonna join us?
All right, Evan.
Hello.
Does Evan have the
my
same top 2?
my top 2 are exactly the same as Tagen's and Danny's. Orbit 1, Greybots 2. I mean, Greybots, excellent team. I do agree with Brennan's assessment, but I still think they beat out the other 2 teams that are in the top 4 or whatever. But Orbit, I mean, undefeated Chesy champs, world high score. I mean, enough said, right? Like, so good.
All right, I'll close it out. 1690, clear number 1 here. 148 coming in second, not shabby at all. But yeah, for me, like I said, 148, just that little bit ahead of 973 because of the maneuverability and autonomous mode. The other big thing that was a differentiator for me is the fact that their event had a color wheel.
True.
It takes away a lot of the, you know, time they
Well, it
would
takes away
normally
a
do.
cycle. Yeah. Takes
Well,
away a
they were
cycle,
doing
basically.
both as well, so
True.
it's 2 cycles. So it's you know, they executed that really well. I thought the color wheel, and you know, they had a wide variety of shot positions, and their autonomouses were absolutely fantastic. So that to me just gave them a little bit of an edge over 973 just because of those things. And yeah, I mean, both of those teams neck and neck, but I don't think anybody here is arguing that 1690 isn't the top team, top dog
Mm-hmm.
in terms of infinite recharge this season. Just absolutely amazing robot. Probably the best inner percentage in the world. Possibly the most cycling in the world. Definitely the best stealing, abusing the overflow in the world for sure. That was another thing they were absolutely fantastic on. They never missed their autonomouses either. Like there was a match where they got bumped in autonomous in playoffs and they still made shots. Like this team just doesn't miss. They've refined their robots so well that they're just at that peak, and absolutely amazing performance from them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm honestly not. I'm a little surprised with every top 10 seems pretty consistent, at least team composition for the most part. And 10th through 20th is pretty reasonable, and then 20th and down, it's
there's a lot of
like
competitive spots there for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Interesting to me to see the distribution too between districts and regional teams.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty even-ish for the most part.
I mean, I think no, not on my list. My list was definitely regional heavy. But,
Wow, really?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think my picks were good, with I guess one exception, to be honest.
What are you
2767
questioning?
would have been on my list had I watched Finite Recharge. But the way that I did my thing is I went through the Blue Alliance for every single event that occurred in 2020 or 2021, looked at the top ranked teams, looked at the top OPR teams, and looked at the event winners. Finite Recharge doesn't have enough scores in the Blue Alliance, so when looking at 2767, I looked at their 2020 regional or district event, which was not good enough to put in the top 25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with
If
you.
I had watched Finite Recharge, I just watched a couple matches, I would have put them probably, I'm just going to guess, 10-ish, maybe. I don't know. They would have been on there. So
Curtis, I can at least speak for myself, saying from an art perspective, I'm interested in seeing 188 and 2200 that high. 2200 obviously getting honorable mentions from people. I'm curious, was 3683 Team Dave in any considerations? I can speak for myself. They were in my top 35. But I didn't end up getting them onto my top 25.
Yeah, I think they were top 40 for me or something like that. They were definitely up there.
Yeah.
I
I
had
definitely gave them
three.
a look.
I had 3 Ontario teams between 26 and 30 on my list. I didn't put
Jeez.
188 or 2200
Yeah.
or 3683 on my list. I think if I look at this, just teams that I should say that were in my 25 position or at one point on my list that I ended up taking off: 188, 2200, 4910, 2714, 3647, 624. We're all at least very, very close and in contention for that.
Mm-hmm.
I also had 1023 in contention at some point. I had Bedford in there.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up now because I'm not remembering. Tagen's top 25. Here we go. I had 1339 in contention as an outsider. 4201. Obviously, I didn't have 971 on my list. They were in the conversation, but they didn't make the list. Yeah. Those are some teams. And 2337 and 2338 were also both ones that I looked at. So those were a few examples of teams.
6328, 694, 6800,
Oh yeah, 340 as
226,
well. I looked at 340 and 694.
2468. Engineers, Code Orange. All these teams were kind of in that range of there. What do you guys think about the combined list in general?
I like the combined list a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple differences I have, but I think overall it's quite good.
I can say with confidence that after looking at the combined list, I think I definitely slept on 987 quite a lot. Maybe I probably was not
You're
watching the
literally
right.
not on your list, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So who had the
Yep.
best
Yeah.
list? That's the question. What does chat think, and what do you guys think?
Define best.
Best list, most
Close.
accurate.
Well, most accurate to what?
well,
The reality or
Yeah,
to the
reality.
Me.
Me. Like, I'm pretty sure we all think our own lists are the most
I-
accurate.
Okay, aside from you,
I-
who do you think the
Okay. Well, I guess I can go first. Oh man, Danny's list was starting out very similar to mine. 987 emission is not, my favorite thing. I think at the top, Brennan's is the best. I think at the bottom, Danny's is the best. So Brennan, I think, got the top 10 close-ish, although 188 I think was higher than they were on mine, and then 2767, whatever, not too far off probably. I just missed them. Pretty close. And then the bottom of the list, like the bottom half, Danny's is pretty good. The Midwest, I think, was slept on by a lot of people. And another team that I think was slept on, I guess, by both of them, 4911. I think they should have been top 25 for everybody. They were so good
They
at
were
cycling
basically identical
at
to
West Valley.
2910 at some of
Nah.
I wouldn't say basically identical, but
at
you
West
could have made an
Valley?
argument at
In
West
West Valley,
Valley
they were competitive with them.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
looked at them. I just, yeah.
I did definitely take a look at them as well as a couple teams like 1756 in the Midwest as well.
hmm
And
I think.
yeah, also
Yeah, go ahead.
a couple. I unfortunately did not see any matches played from 179, although
No,
but
they
if
didn't.
I know like they were
They would have had
probably
a
at
good
some off
robot.
season, but I never could find any
Yeah,
VOD of the event, which is
unfortunate. There
Yeah.
several teams that probably would have made this list if they had played / had a VOD.
What, you mean
2056, for
2056
example.
not on the list?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that's a
another one.
team that would have been.
But yeah, no, I think for me the biggest shock was the 2767. Though I guess it was to be fair, it was kind of hard to find their good matches. But yeah, I mean they were absolutely lights out. 100% in that top 10, undeniably for me. There's no way that you don't have them in the top 10, and then probably even higher.
I think you're all sleeping on Barker.
Yeah,
Like, unironically, I think the buddy climb was the, like, for me, that put them in like a new, almost league kind of thing of
Yeah, but
versatility and overall ability. Maybe it wouldn't have been so important at that top level, but it worked reliably. It didn't take up that much time. They were going to park at or climb at 18. Many teams were doing 30 seconds anyways for just themselves and the balance. I think that's super underrated. And I think if any other teams had done it, like I don't think any other teams did it in an event. I know 6328 had the blueprints for one. I don't know if they ended up executing.
poll in Twitch chat, by the way. Who won from chat?
Can I vote on the poll?
I guess you can vote.
all right. Well, I'm
Let's
voting.
go.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it valuable it's valuable in Australia? Yeah, for sure. But
It's
Yeah.
I don't know. I
honestly
think
probably valuable when
I'm
teams
not
have
sure
a
it's going to
bad
get you much
when
at
teams have a weak
Worlds.
climb
Mhm.
when teams have a weaker climb at Worlds, then yes, it's going to be valuable because it'll still be faster than them lining up to climb.
I mean, at Worlds, I don't know. I mean,
Or,
especially in playoffs, I don't know how much value you
well,
get out of it.
in
Yeah,
playoffs,
I
maybe
agreed.
you don't need it, but it gets you to seed, so you don't need it. That's the
Although
thing.
I could see a situation if you're in the same division as 2451 or some
Yeah.
other team that's excellent cycle but climbs.
Yeah, like
problems.
364, 2451.
That's true. It does open up a lot of picking potential.
Yeah.
Though you're probably still not picking that team as your first robot.
No, but the main thing is I think it gives you the thing I like about it is it means they're probably going to seed near the top and then they can pick whoever they want anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how important the triple climb was, it was. I think that because it's faster than most climbers would be anyways, I think it would still prove to be
The question,
valuable even at Worlds.
the question I have there though is like, how does the balance work? I don't know. I
I
Well,
don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
mean,
maybe
it,
they
really,
can,
I
like
mean,
it
maybe
might
they
be
can do it
tough.
off to the side.
they
No, not with the way that it works. But I don't think it would work on the side.
I mean, I'm sure they had ideas for that. I'm sure that was not forgotten. Those points, or maybe there's an extra version and then you can have two robots climbing on it. I don't know, but probably not. That would be a little excessive. That would be cool. Imagine a robot that has like a double, like a stack, and then it's just yeah. Anyways, like even if they don't end up using it, they can still climb normally anyways. So the main thing is
I
it
mean,
gets
it's
you to
yeah.
rank better, so you can pick whoever you want anyways. Right? Like who cares if you're ranking first if you're like maybe, choosing your own getting to choose your own alliance at Worlds is so valuable.
True.
So that's why I don't know. I think you guys are sleeping on it, and I think Twitch chat agrees with me. So who cares?
You got the win. Taegen wins. Most votes.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Take a bow.
You've convinced the masses that your
The
takes are
masses.
Although
right.
I'm not sure who we heard from, or if we heard from each other on other than me, and whose list was the best other than their own.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I
I
mean, I
think
think I guess I'm gonna go with Brennan as my overall pick because I think he got the important ones correct or closer to correct, like the top high level.
yeah.
So
I'm gonna say Evan. I think I
Mm,
agree most with Evan's list.
I
I
don't
because
know
I
who.
put Barker
would
on
agree
it,
with
isn't it?
most of Evan's list as well.
I think the big thing for me is the inclusion of high rollers so high. Otherwise, I could see myself agreeing with Danny's.
You guys.
Both Danny and
For
I
me,
left one team
I
off
I
that we
feel
should have
like
kept on.
yeah, and I think yeah. Taegen didn't have Strike Force up there either.
I did at least put them on
They
my
were on the
list.
list. Yeah. Dang. I think I got to go with Danny's mainly for the top part. I think Strike Force just super slept on. Super good.
Fair enough.
2168 a little bit low. Yeah, that's true. Tisk Danny.
5460 is the only person.
I
Am
didn't
I
even
the
have
only
them on
person?
my
No,
list.
it's me and
No,
Evan are the
I
only
had them.
two.
I'm surprised that they're there. I think they should have been on your list too, Brennan. I don't know. That's a
Yeah,
I
surprise to
thought
me.
about them. They were up there.
yeah.
They're in that
I
chunk
think
of
you have
like that
30.
20
I think you
to
have 3310
30
too
that
low.
could all be the same pretty much.
I think
Yeah,
they're clearly better than most of those teams, personally.
yeah. Well, Brennan also has
Uh,
3310 in 20 seconds. So can we really
That's
try to
low for
dismiss?
me. Yeah, but I mean, I don't. There's nobody here that doesn't have one pick that is
Oh yeah,
questionable for
yeah,
me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, I
I
mean,
wouldn't.
I think the inclusion of some of these teams are questionable, and the exclusion of others is questionable. Although I think Danny and I clearly have the worst exclusions.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
Yeah,
There are some inclusions, especially on the lower end of some of
That are
these that
different.
I question. Yeah.
It's gonna yeah, the lower end I thought was really close. Really hard to tell.
yes, absolutely. Well, because it's like, okay, cool. You can have a team that does 5 cycles, or you can have a team that does 5 cycles. Like, pick.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
if you're lucky, you can get a team that does 6 cycles.
Depends on what you value, right? For me, the things that I was looking at is like getting around defense specifically. I
Mm-hmm.
looked at a lot, and then climber and inner percentage, or like
Yeah.
how reliable they were doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard because some of them didn't have a lot of match videos of them playing against
Yeah.
strong
True.
defense. Like, I don't know, specifically like some of these teams, right? I don't know. Some of these teams, I mean, I think we're very good without defense. It's really hard to tell how it translates. I mean, I guess you can sort of think, well, their drive base maybe would be helpful in this way. Their precision on these like cycles might be helpful this way. How well they get under this like trench. If they run into the trench a bunch, they might not have the best precision. I mean, they might not have great defense. excellently. It's just hard to tell with some of these teams. So I tried to like compare them with in matches without defense because that's easier to compare. And then I watched them with defense, and you get like a bonus if you were especially good against the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2052 was without defense, similar to so many teams, but their ability against defense was better than the like average. So I had to put them again up above these teams that might not have had the opportunity to show off. Like 5813 was cycling very, very well, like on par with 2052 without defense, but you didn't see how they could do against defense. Like I just couldn't include them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I had to put some of these teams. So I mean, it's tough. Yeah. I guess any other notable exclusions by anybody that they really want to stick the guns on that other people put on?
I did like have I had 5460 as like being very like on the bubble, and
Same, yeah.
like part of it was that I looked a lot more at their Michigan events, and they only won one of them, and that was from the second seeded position. They were not bad by any means, but there were just like these very little things that kept them from being in top 25 proper.
That's the other
Mhm.
thing too. I went for reliability over top end generally.
Fair.
Like just the fact that they had matches at Chesney where they were decommissioned multiple times just due to jams and stuff. Absolutely amazing and definitely top 25 when they're working. It's just reliability for me was a big decider as well when it's so close between these teams.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I think I focus a little bit more on like the ceiling than sort of the floor in comparison to some of the other people. But I mean, yeah,
I'm interested to see the number of well, I don't know, just as someone from Canada, it's nice to see a good number of international teams on these lists, regardless
yeah,
of what they are.
I
Nice to
loaded
see
my
diversity
list with
expanding.
Canadian teams. Although I did have 4 countries on my list, so
Well,
I think
that's true.
everybody did except for Brennan, who had 3 countries,
Yeah, I didn't have
Yeah,
Wingus and Dingus
or Barker.
or Barker. Yeah,
yeah.
Wingus and
Still,
Dingus was up there for me. Well, as was
yeah.
Barker, but I had Wingus higher.
Yeah, I very much considered putting Barker on, but was a bit surprised to see Tay put them at number 6. But after the justification, I can definitely see why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
did the math.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
did
I
the
also
math, and
did.
then once I put them on, and like literally once I saw them go 22nd on Evan's list, I'm like, oh no. And then I heard Brennan say, oh yeah, I don't have any in common. I'm like, oh no. This
Yeah,
is gonna
no,
be good.
I don't know. I just thought their teleop period wasn't quite strong enough
Yeah, no,
to put
I
them that
agree.
high. But I mean,
Yep.
if they had a good teleop period, like a better teleop period, they could go up there because they had the extra things that are just. But they didn't really have that super strong meat and potatoes that all the other top tier teams
Well,
do.
I will adopt vegetarianism for this list.
I mean, you might get in a little
Selective
bit of trouble for that in
vegetarianism.
Australia.
What?
You might get in trouble for that in Australia.
What, being vegetarian?
That's a joke because they eat a lot of meat.
It is?
Steak is and
I
lamb
don't
are
know.
big
I
things.
don't know.
Okay,
Aw.
cool.
All right.
Cool,
Lastly,
nice.
looking at the overall list, anybody they think just like at the overall all one, the combined one, too high, too low?
I mean, too high, 188.
I think they're too low.
Yeah, I know you do, but
I'm surprised they're not on Evan's list.
I
Even if it like in the bottom 5, I'm surprised they're just not there at all on your
their
list.
numbers were not as good as any of the teams on this list from the data that I had.
It's just because they're a district team. That's all.
Yeah.
Not it.
District
No,
That's
hating.
what
I
hits
have
my head.
I have plenty. I have several district teams on my list. It's not as
This is
many.
true, just not 18th down. Yeah, I think 188. Honestly, I think 188's about right. And I can agree with pretty much everything. Like the only one, like
No.
I didn't have 971 on my list, but I can totally see them being on the list.
Hmm.
Trying to
Who's the
think if there's
highest
anyone.
team? Yeah, they're
Oh,
the only.
Strike Force needs to be
Right.
higher.
Well, they would be if I watched Finite Recharge. Um, who I think should be on this list. I mean, there aren't a lot of massive emissions, but the one that I think is the biggest is Tonnage 2451. I mean, the cycling was just too good in my opinion to leave off.
Brennan and I clearly disagreed.
They were in consideration for sure. For
Yeah,
me.
no, likewise.
Yeah, I think it really was the end game, which definitely came back to bite them a little. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. I think if they had a consistent climb, they probably. I mean, if they had a consistent climb, I probably would have put them just gut reaction 12th on my list
Yeah,
behind Robonauts. I mean, ahead of Gators.
I
But it
would
could
have
have been
been.
higher or lower.
Yeah, I'm interested to see too. How this list turns into 2022 and what happens.
yeah,
Like I don't know if Orbit will be the #1 team overall in the world next year. It'd be pretty cool if they were, but I
Most
think
likely not.
Yeah.
like
The odds
I
are not
think
in
it's
any team's favor of being the #1 team. It's hard.
Especially, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
with
but
teams.
I think they'll be like I said. Like I think Israel. I think I've said it on a previous episode. I think Israel's gonna start popping off.
yeah.
Mhm.
They have been for a pretty good bit, and frankly, I wish Nick was on the show so he
Yeah,
could.
Nick would have been.
I
I
want to
hope
see
he
his
can.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see his list. Hopefully, he'll be able to get that to us soon.
Hmm.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
But it is 1:21 in the morning
Yeah, for Eastern people.
for East Coast people. So for those tuning in, if you've stuck it out this long,
We
big
appreciate
credit to you. We appreciate it a lot. It's been awesome
Yeah.
having people and chat and active and vibing with us on this lovely Wednesday evening.
Now it's Thursday
Yep.
morning.
Now it's
For
Thursday
you.
morning. Everyone except for Evan. So thank you for hanging out with us. We do this every week at 10:30 p.m. and
This was our longest show for sure.
this is the longest one that hopefully will ever happen because I want to go to bed soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
But
usually
it's
about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
but again, we really appreciate y'all if you stuck around, if you popped in and popped out. Maybe you were just looking to see if your team ended on the list. Hopefully for you it did. Maybe it didn't, in which case just get good and then it'll all be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, next week we have hopefully
I don't know what we're doing next week,
the
but
start of the game bracket stuff, which we
oh
can
yes,
definitely
the
have people.
game tournament.
Oh God.
Game tournament.
If you're interested in repping a FRC game and talking about how awesome it is, you can join our Discord, which is in here. This is our first like advertised
Episode, yeah.
so I'd love to get people in. And yeah, anything else to add from anybody here?
That was fun.
Thanks. That was
Uh,
fun.
thank-
Thanks,
Let's do it
Danny,
again
for
next
coming.
year.
Thank y'all for tuning in. This is my first time doing anything like this, so I hope I didn't mess up too much.
You did
No,
a good job.
no,
You did a
no,
good
no,
job.
you're good. You were good. Alrighty.
Okay. Have a good night, folks. See ya next week. We're in for another fun
See ya.
one.